What's going on? AJ here, and before we get the show started today, I just wanted to let you know that the STGeek Podcast is now shopping around for sponsors, so if you have a brand that you would like us to promote across our social media and on podcast episodes, be sure to contact us at STGeekPod@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to get back to you very shortly. Anyway, it's time to start the show for STGeek Podcast episode 15. Let's go! Welcome back to another episode of the STGeek Podcast with me, AJ, and alongside of me, that's the word I'm looking for.
AJ?
As usual, definitely not. Yep. Alongside me are my co-hosts,
Peter,
John,
and today we have some news that we're going to get into, but before we do, I just want to let you know this is the episode, as you can tell of the title, we are going to be reviewing Unbreakable and Split because we do have Glass coming out a week from the airing of this episode. Uber duper hype about that. But again, before we get into that, we do have some news we want to talk about. Peter, kick us off, please.
Actually, before I get into news, okay. I just want to say that listeners may have noticed that our last episode, there may have been some quality issues. So we apologize for that, but just know that we got our shit together. Should be sounding a lot better now. Everybody's got their own equipment.
You can hear me now, guys.
I can spread my legs. You can hear John.
I can spread my voice.
His legs.
They're spread, guys.
I mean, not that they weren't already.
I'm a little uncomfortable.
It's in clear, it's in your line of sight.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh
Right
yeah,
there.
we can see it. We can see.
Only
He's
you
sitting
guys
real wide-legged right now on that chair.
It feels great, I gotta say.
This is the first STGeek Podcast episode we've had where we're not like cute and cuddly together.
Yeah,
this is the furthest apart we've ever been while recording.
But Peter still makes me feel uncomfortable. So
it's the gaze, I think. I don't mean the gaze, I mean his gaze.
Phrasing, yes.
Yes.
Poor choice of words.
Oh my god.
Just for reference, we love the gays.
This
everybody.
sounds like a backhanded apology.
No. We love everybody here. But okay, so yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, just for those of you that listened to episode 14, John was a little bit quiet because he and Peter were sharing a mic. End of story. Okay, go on.
Yeah,
Peter.
we tried something new.
They tried cutting me out.
Yeah, but now we all have mics.
Can't get rid of me, guys.
First episode, we all three have our own mics. It's beautiful. All right, go on,
Anyway,
Peter. What's
moving
up?
on. So, first thing on the news docket. Bungie, which you may be familiar with, is the popular gaming company who developed the franchise Halo.
Of course, and
yes.
Their more recent project, which they've been doing for the past several years now, Destiny, which I'm a huge fan of. I've been playing since it came out.
1 and 2, yeah.
Yeah, Vanilla 1 was so bad, but I've been there. I stuck with it.
I had fun with it.
The gameplay was good. Everything else about it was kind of shit. The Crucible is what drew me in, honestly, which is the game's PvP mode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been there. The dark age of vanilla Destiny 1. But anyway, so they've had a business partnership with Activision ever since they started making Destiny.
Yes.
And they're actually splitting up. So Bungie is cutting its ties with Activision, and Activision is actually going to sell the rights to the publishing rights to Destiny back to Bungie. So they're going to be in full control, which is great news.
Nice.
Because there has been a lot of tension between the two ever since.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
Oh yeah, ever since this partnership happened, because apparently Activision as a publisher has just been all about profits, and it's kind of dampered the quality of the Destiny franchise in a lot of ways.
I mean, I heard Destiny 2's launch was pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, they tried really hard to cater to the casual audience, which, I mean, Vanilla Destiny 1 was fun. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it didn't have the staying power that some of the better expansions in Destiny 1 had, like the Taken King or Rise of Iron. And so it felt like they were repeating the same mistakes they did with Destiny 1, because the first expansion pack for Vanilla Destiny 2 was very underwhelming. Gotcha. Very underwhelming. Okay. I didn't even bother playing the second expansion pack because I'm just like, I'm not going through this again. They got me the first time. I'm not doing this again.
Fool me once.
Yeah. But then the most recent expansion came out, and it's
Forsaken or something like that?
Destiny 2 Forsaken. And holy crap, it is great.
The trailers looked fun for it. The E3 showing looked fun.
Yes, it is the best that Destiny has ever been. And knowing that Bungie is now going to be in complete control of the direction it goes in moving forward, I couldn't be more excited.
Man, when Xbox One, whatever the next gen console will be, along with PS5, maybe that'll draw me in when Destiny 3 drops. You know what I mean?
Right.
If they just, I mean, obviously Bungie's going to invest enough money into making that happen again. Especially now that you said they have full control. I look forward to it. This might draw me back into Destiny because I enjoyed the first one for, a couple months. It was okay at most. I played very casually here and there when I felt like it. It was a cool little entry-level MMO. Right. But then I kind of fell off of it pretty quickly, I would say, at least to my mind I did. Sure. I didn't get deep into the lore, not that there was much of one.
There is, though.
Right? But in Destiny 2, I imagine it's great now, but it wasn't... I guess the lackluster I felt from Destiny 1 was not enough to get me to buy Destiny 2. So I look forward to 3. Now that you say Bungie has full control, right. I mean, I love what Bungie has done with the Halo series up until 343 became a thing, which I appreciate Halo still after that. But if you're saying that Bungie is the full creative behind Destiny, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah.
And I think at one point or another, all three of us have been very huge fans of the Halo franchise.
Of course, I still
Halo
am.
3 for life.
Yeah.
I mean, Halo 5 Guardians had a lot of guff about its story mode, but the multiplayer is,
God, I love
in
the
my
multiplayer
opinion,
so
the
much.
best multiplayer of Halo I've ever experienced. I love it.
I loved it too.
There was some armor customization that I felt lacked. Ever since Halo reached the armor customization of multiplayer, characters has been lackluster since then. But at the same time, the multiplayer action itself, super fun. And I look forward to Halo Infinite and all that to come.
Did you guys know that there are still Halo 3 tournaments?
That's
really?
sick. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that was like... Halo 3 was a big deal, and apparently still is. That's awesome.
I want to play Halo 3 so bad.
Master Chief Collection, man.
Yeah, but isn't the multiplayer like random from different games? You can't just stick to 3.
You should be able... No. You could choose what game you want to play online.
Okay.
You can definitely choose. I played Halo 4 online, but because I missed Halo 4 online, I loved it. And then when Halo 5 Guardians came out, I fell in love with that. But I was like, you know what? I haven't played Halo 4 online in a long time. So I booted that up on Master Chief Collection, and I realized what a difference it is between the two. But yeah, you can go back and forth between any multiplayer level
That's good to know.
Game you want. Yeah, I would recommend it.
Just make
Super
sure you
fun.
got a clean 120 gigs left of memory.
Yeah, it's and I made the mistake of buying the digital version.
So did I. I'm right there with you.
I uninstalled that a year later, and I was like, I have space again. Thank God.
Every time I uninstall it is the one time in a blue moon where John's like, "Hey, we should all play Halo."
Right?
Every single fucking time.
I'll reinstall it when that happens. It might take 5 hours or 5
That's
days.
just
for that
it.
matter.
Every time that's happened, I'm like, I'm downloading it now. Let's fucking do this. And then by the time it's done downloading, John's like, I'm going to bed.
7 days later.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on. Exciting news, though, for sure. But, Peter, you also wanted to talk about the X-Force movie.
Yeah, so this is just a rumor as of now, but apparently the X-Force movie may be canceled, at least in some way, at least under the Fox banner, which, if this turns out to be true, is a bit disappointing, but also kind of has a light at the end of the tunnel, because I feel like if they're cutting the X-Force characters, who among them is Deadpool, I would assume that means they're going to bring them into the Marvel MCU proper.
Okay.
So...
Got that.
What the... Okay.
Sorry, my phone fell on my mic stand. If you heard a little thing, my bad. Continue.
Okay, so... I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I'm really torn about this. Because I would have loved a Fox X-Force R-rated movie.
Especially because they've done such a great job with Deadpool. So why not keep up? Deadpool 2, in my opinion, I got to jump into this real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you, John.
No.
But what the chemistry between Cable and Deadpool, I thought was pretty fun. I would love to see it being expanded upon even more. On top of that, I loved the way Deadpool 2 ended with the X-Force kind of becoming a thing.
Right.
And I want to see what that looks like fleshed out in its brand, in its own movie, I should say. So it's going to be a sad loss if this is going to be the case. I would love a rated R X-Force for sure.
Yeah. I didn't really like... Okay, I enjoyed Cable, and I enjoyed Josh Brolin as Cable. My one gripe with it was he was a bit too funny for Cable.
You don't think he was, brooding enough?
He was for the most
end
part,
of the movie,
but then
I think is when he kind of really became...
He lightened up.
he makes a
fell in love
dubstep
with
joke
Deadpool.
twice, which is
Yeah.
kind of weird.
Especially because dubstep isn't as big as it used to be either.
Was it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It definitely was.
Doesn't mean it was good, but it was big.
It used to be groundbreaking. I mean, it's still a genre. I like listening to it every now and then.
Yeah.
At
I mean, I
PG
don't
Chava on
hate
Twitter
it.
and Instagram if you
Yeah.
have any beef with that.
I don't hate it. I just don't understand how it got so.
Make 'em
fucking
understand.
Popular. It's just fucking. Just
Send them
base.
all your YouTube links. Let's get it going.
I mean, I don't understand.
Send Peter all your favorite dubstep tracks,
Hashtag wah wah
please.
wah wah wah.
I just don't understand how people can like enjoy that
He's
when
going
they're
off
not
this.
at a fucking rave. Unless
goes.
you're on
Here goes.
drugs.
No.
Like how are people enjoying just blah, 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 while they're
John-
driving to
John
work?
and I have
I
bumped
driving
up-
a 9 to
It's
5.
pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah, we've
I don't
bumped
get
dubstep
it.
in the car many a
And
time.
I don't get it.
Over the back,
I sit in the back and I'm
then
just
again,
like, this is
like
a
back in
thing.
2012, 2010 when we would do that though. So that was a long
we were
time
bumping
ago.
it hard before it like really blew up. Is when we were into it.
Hipsters.
I know,
Definitely.
right? We were so
Yeah,
cool
you know.
and on top of it back then, and now it's old news. No, but yeah, totally. I feel you.
Speaking on that accent, I'm
sorry.
Have you guys? This is a complete out of nowhere thing.
By all means.
Ever since we started doing the podcast, I realized just how like SoCal we all sound.
Oh no!
Have you guys
really?
noticed this?
Do we say like a lot?
I feel like I do.
You just said the word.
Exactly. I feel like I do it a lot. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
No. That's all. John, what are your thoughts on
Well,
it? Though?
just to
X-Force.
go off of what Peter was saying,
Not off me though.
it's pretty much confirmed that New Mutants is the last movie under Fox.
Oh yeah, you were gonna get into
Okay.
that for your news. Might as
So
well.
for sure, it's coming
yeah.
out.
As long as nothing happens at this buyout, they basically confirmed they're going to scrap all of that. Any kind of Fox ideas that there were. I mean, hopefully they still. I don't see why they would censor Deadpool. They have franchises like Alien. Are they going to censor those movies? And
Of course not.
De-
Disney owns Miramax, among many other companies, and Miramax releases R-rated shit all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're just
Disney
not
has
going to
had-
release it under the Disney banner.
Yes, but Disney has owned many R-rated films, but again, they're not labeled as a Disney film.
Right.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the newspaper as a little kid once, and I was very baffled by that. But yeah, it just turns out as long as the Disney name isn't on it, not a really big deal.
Yeah, I feel like Deadpool's safe. I feel like that's the only one that's safe.
I hope they keep that sacred. I, really do.
If they're saying that they're not going to be published under Fox, then that scares me. That makes me think they are bringing them to the MCU, and they're going to be in that under that Marvel/Disney brand, and thus they're not going to be R-rated, which is
Would be
disappointing
kinda,
to me.
Yeah, it'd be kind of crappy. I agree.
All right. Well, that is that. I do agree. It would be such a loss. But anyway, you were talking about, though, John, you mentioned it briefly a second ago, that, I'm sorry, what was the thing you want to talk about? New Mutants,
That's
right? Essentially that.
It's the last Fox movie, basically, that's going to be releasing on Marvel.
And we've talked about New Mutants a couple of times on this podcast already, more specifically last podcast episode as well. How do you guys feel about that being maybe the last mantle held up by Fox for, like, I guess, Marvel comic book movies?
I mean,
Way to go.
Whatever.
Yeah, congrats, Fox. That's the way you're
You made
ending.
it. You got Senpai's attention. Like they noticed you now.
And yet,
Congratulations.
this is a movie that might not actually ever come out.
No,
though,
I
for
think
all we
this
know.
is going to come out.
I hope so. They've released a trailer, but it wasn't reviewed very well by, just the audiences that were brought in to review the film. I mean, but we'll see if it actually comes to light. I hope they do a lot of, reshoots and stuff like that, because it seems like it might need it, because a lot of audiences did not like what they saw already.
We're never going to get the Gambit movie, guys.
I know, right? That made me laugh
Tatum,
so much.
R.I.P.
He wants
pushed
that
for
movie
it-
so
he pushed
bad.
for it for like 5 years.
Do we need a Cajun on the big screen besides Princess and the Frog?
I feel like, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind
I would
it.
have seen it. I mean,
Yeah.
He's a great comic book character, but is he one that should belong on screen? And if so, who would even play him for that matter?
It was going to be
Channing
Channing
Tatum.
Tatum.
Channing Tatum?
Yeah, for like 5
I
years.
could
That was
totally
what
see
came
him.
in my mind, but I just...
I can see it.
I could see it with the bangs and all, I guess.
And then he was talking about how this was like his, like, Channing Tatum to Gambit is sort of like Ryan Reynolds to Deadpool. Like, this was his passion project. This was
Sure.
like, he really knew the character in and out.
I appreciate
And he
that.
really wanted to do the character justice on the big screen. So honestly, I'm a bit disappointed that we're not going to get to see it. However, I'm not surprised either. Because like John said, he's been trying to get that off the ground for like 5 years, and it
we'll
was
see.
they would give
it's
it
gone through director after director,
Because they realize they can't make a cage and do cool shit and sound good and look good at the same time.
He throws cards, AJ. Can you throw cards?
Okay,
can you throw cards?
I think the big hard. I think the big hard part about this is that big hard part. There you go. The immaturities of STGeek Podcast, or at least me myself. Are they going to cut the accent or are they going to leave it?
No, he wanted from my understanding, he wanted the accent.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the problem.
Like he was practicing for no.
If they can make it sound good,
that's the part of the problem.
I just think it's a little. I mean, okay, look, if you're a Cajun and you're listening, love you for listening. Thank you so very much. Let us know if you're Cajun or if you have the accent. I'm not trying to be racist or anything. I'm just saying it's a little. It's a little funny to have on a movie. Like, I mean, there's a reason why a lot of people go for Southern accents to sound a little, I guess, silly every now and then. And it's no offense to the South or people from the South. It's just, it's a common occurrence on media. I'm just saying.
So Chris Hemsworth did, like in the first Thor movie, they leaned really heavily into the Shakespearean,
but then they definitely drew back because they realized it was a little much.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
They dyed his eyebrows
blonde.
Yeah, they bleached his eyebrows in those movies.
That was really off-putting.
To be fair, they've drawn back a lot, so much that they cut his hair and made it a comedy now.
I don't necessarily agree with you, but you might be onto something.
I'm just saying there are certain aspects of it
At
that probably
AJ Applesauce.
right. I'm just saying producers are probably like, you want to do what and make it sound like what? I don't know if audiences are ready for that, and maybe that speaks to the time. Fuck it. I'm down to just move on to the next subject. At me on Twitter and Instagram if you want, whatever. I'm just saying it may not be the cash cow. I hope that. Again, I'm not saying Gambit isn't a cool character. I think he's great. He's awesome in fighting games like Marvel vs. Capcom. He's awesome in comic books and in the show as well.
He's whatever.
I think he looks cool on
he
screen.
looks cool, yeah.
Exactly. Well, is he the best character to play with? Probably not, but that's besides the point.
No,
anyway,
definitely not.
Let's move on. Peter.
Yes.
You want to talk about Black Widow? Talk to us.
Black Widow. So speaking of
that was
the spider or the character?
The spider, obviously. They're deadly. Leave them alone. You see one, walk the other way.
Squash it.
Step on it, squash it.
Run away.
Get a cat.
Get a cat? No, don't let the cat get hurt.
Whatever. As long as it's not
sacrifice. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no. PETA, don't add us, please.
Did you end up sending that video of the bunny to Sin?
Bunny?
That Twitter that he sent to you of the bunny getting bowed.
I did not know. I'll show her, though. I'm going to see her tomorrow.
We'll retweet it on the STGeek Twitter. So
yeah,
if we haven't already.
Listening to this and I haven't shown you yet, ask about it. But you're going to regret asking about it. Anyway, moving on.
So the Black Widow movie, which is more than likely going to get made.
Yeah. But I believe in Black Widow. I hope so.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think it's too late, honestly.
Okay, hold on. I would agree with you. However, from the scene in Infinity War, where it's the three women fighting together.
Like the femme fatales thing.
That was awesome. I loved that scene.
It was a cool sequence.
And it was like a 5-second scene, but it was awesome. And you could see the potential in that. And so I hope that it's not just about her alone. I would hope that they would, maybe a femme fatales sort of movie, because that's what would draw me in. If it's just a Black Widow movie, I'll watch it regardless. But I would prefer more of a team up.
If it's a prequel, I wouldn't give two shits.
No, not at all.
We don't need an origin story.
No.
And I think Marvel understands that. I would like to think Marvel Studios and Disney understand that now.
Right. I'm at the point with Marvel, I haven't even gotten into the story yet, but I've gotten to the point with Marvel movies where if it's not awesome, like I never saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I'm sure I will eventually.
It's worth it.
But I'm in no big hurry to see it. I'm at the point where if I don't feel like I'm missing out if I skimp on a Marvel movie or two, on an MCU movie specifically.
Gotcha.
So depending on how this looks, this might be one of them. But if this rumor turns out to be true, maybe not. Because the rumor is that it's going to be the first R-rated movie for the MCU.
That would be pretty cool.
That would be crazy. Yeah.
That'd be interesting. I mean, she's an assassin in the comic book. She's very deadly.
I don't imagine that happening because this is like that big female Marvel character, and if it's rated R, it's not going to sell toys.
She's the female character from Marvel. You're right. However,
is she though? I mean, the Captain Marvel movie's coming up. They're really leaning on her as being the new face of the MCU.
But making a Black Widow movie rated R would definitely eliminate those toy sales. And that does matter. That does make a big
especially to Disney.
Yeah, true. I mean, I'm sure at least a lot of people buy them for their daughters and such like that. Black Widow toys in particular, and I would hope for sons too, because she's just a badass character in general. But I would like to think, though, I mean, 2 out of 3 people on this podcast said that they probably aren't that interested in seeing it. So in order to draw people in, maybe the R rating is what will get people excited for it. That's just me thinking from like, you know, a marketing standpoint. Get people to see this. How are we going to do this? First ever MCU rated R movie. That's what's going to bring people in for sure. I mean, look what Deadpool did. People don't know about Deadpool ever, but they saw rated R Marvel movie, superhero, and Ryan Reynolds all put together. Why not?
Well,
and it ended up working out great.
The marketing was pretty on point, AJ.
I do agree with that, but I'm just saying, Black Widow, I don't think it'll be slapstick, crazy, outrageous humor like Deadpool was, but I feel like that's just one angle that they're going to go.
Not her character.
I agree. I mean, she has her humorous points, but it's more dry humor than anything. Yeah. But I just think from a marketing standpoint, that's what they're going to do to draw people into the seats.
I think I just agree with what Peter said earlier. I don't think they're going to make it. It's too late. It's too late. At this point, why not just introduce a new female character like Captain Marvel?
I think she's a great character. I don't think they give her much playtime on screen anymore.
She's an older character now.
You're not wrong about that, AJ, but again, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you're right.
Please, no, please. You're welcome.
No,
to
like
disagree.
I'm still not interested, but you're right in the sense that they really haven't given her much playtime.
They need to give her draw.
They give her entire arc in the Avengers movie. That's pretty much it. In like a quick flashback sequence where she's fighting side by side with Hawkeye, and that's pretty much like, hey, they were buddies. That's your story. Have fun. Like that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they have something. I just remembered they have something going on with Black Widow and the Hulk.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll expand on that for better or for worse.
Maybe, I guess. Now that the Hulk's back on Earth again.
I was talking to somebody the other day. I like how they got rid of. Okay, so. Choose my words carefully here.
Go ahead.
So the Hulk's love interest,
PG travel.
Betty Ross, big character in the comic books, but I'm kind of glad that she's not in the movies because she's a pretty boring character. Her sole purpose is to complement the Hulk.
Really?
Yeah. Like that character's that's all she does. So as much as people kind of tease about Black Widow kind of and the Hulk having a love interest thing, I would and
it's kind of shoehorned in there a little bit.
Just a little bit, but it honestly interests me more so than having Betty Ross there for literally no reason other than to calm the Hulk down. At least Black Widow can contribute something.
And she's a good fighter, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
She's a part of the team and she just happens to be, I guess, not even good for Bruce Banner in this MCU. It's just more that they have a thing going on or they have a connection at least.
You said it perfectly. It's shoehorned in there. Like it's not. It like one movie. There's no hint at it whatsoever. And all of a sudden, it's a thing.
Was it Civil War where it first occurred?
It
where
was
we
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron.
The sun's getting real low.
That's. I gotcha. No, yeah. That's how I feel about it. It was kind of just like, all of a sudden we're supposed to care about these two together. To be honest, though, I felt the same thing about Vision and Scarlet Witch. I was like, wait, I don't need. If anything, I was ready to have either one of those two characters, if not both of them, die in Infinity War. However, when I saw the opening scene with them together, I actually fell in love with their relationship a little bit. I felt more for them for the first time, way more for them than what Bruce Banner and Black Widow have going on at all.
Yeah,
and I was they felt like a believable couple.
Yeah.
Rather than, the scene wasn't even that long for them together, but I guess the screen time they gave was a lot more believable than anything they've done for Black Widow and Bruce Banner whatsoever.
Are you familiar with the comic book arc where they're actually?
I am not.
No.
Yeah, in the comic books they actually become a couple.
It's a thing. Vision and Scarlet Witch.
Don't they have kids?
Well, don't they have like
weird Vision
it?
kids and like he wears a sweater vest or some shit?
Yeah, it's a mini series about the Vision that I've heard is really, really good.
I would love to check it out.
Okay, I gotta check it out.
Maybe we should review it. If you guys want us to, let us know. That would be cool.
Yeah.
But all right. No, that cool shit. Was there anything else we need to talk about as far as news goes?
Not as far as news goes.
All right.
Speaking of reviews,
yes,
if
please.
we have time.
No, yeah, go for it.
We have time. Let's go.
We have about 10 minutes.
So, a few weeks back,
go ahead.
We talked about a trailer for a movie called Replicas starring Keanu Reeves.
The man
himself.
Keanu
the
Reeves.
Constantine, the other thing that he did.
The one.
John Wick.
That John Wick, that samurai movie.
Matrix. Did you say Matrix?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's the.
He's Bill?
I was just gonna say Bill and Ted. Be excellent to each other.
Did you say speed?
I did not say speed.
Speed
Point
1.
Point Break. Is that
Point
the surfer-
Break.
is that
Yes,
the
Point
surfer
Break.
one? Okay. Anyway,
That's before our time. A little bit. Go on though.
what was it? Oh yeah. Keanu Reeves. He's in the movie.
Yes.
Spoiler
Replicas.
alert.
We didn't see it. Or no. Peter did.
Peter saw it.
John and I
Peter
were bad friends.
And boy, did you dodge a bullet? Because
Like the way he did in The Matrix.
Oh my god, that was John and I. We gotta Photoshop a picture or something. We gotta work that out.
Let's do it.
Okay, so
Yes.
quick review /
Quick review.
rant. Fuck this movie. It's so fucking bad. I can't even explain. So,
Why are we going into? Are you just doing spoilers?
I'm saving you guys the trouble. Full spoilers.
All right, we're 25 minutes in. I gotta remember that. 25 minutes.
Full spoilers. Fuck this movie. Keanu Reeves cries for an hour, and then some interesting stuff happens at the end, and then that's it.
Okay.
Like that's the whole movie. His kid. The trailer makes it look like it's like okay, like oh, we're talking about what it means to be human, and like he rebuilt his family, and they know like what does that do to a person's psyche? But literally, the whole movie is him crying about his dead family.
That's kind of understandable, though.
But it's boring. We get it the first time. Like no, like the first time they do it, it's kind of like heartfelt. But
Sure.
but the decisions he makes. Okay, so they get into a car crash,
Okay.
and they
See that in the trailer.
They end up in a lake, and then he's the sole survivor. And then
Jesus.
they spend a lot. I feel like they really tried to stretch out a lot of these scenes to hit the feature length movie.
Okay.
Like runtime, because some of these scenes are stretched the fuck out. They could have been a
go a
lot
little
shorter.
Yeah.
Because they do the crash, he takes all their bodies out and he like lays them on the side of like the riverbed, and then he's just kind of sulking and he's just like oh god, and he's crying. By the way, his acting is fucking horrible.
That's hard to believe because he's a good actor.
He is a
Is
good
he?
He's
actor.
been doing it forever.
Is he?
Yes.
Is he?
I would say he's a believable actor.
I don't think he's good at emotional
Have you guys
stuff.
Okay,
seen-
so is he?
Have you seen Destination Wedding?
No,
No?
I'd never heard of it.
Okay, it's an Amazon movie. It's a good movie.
So
Check it out.
so that's good.
No, I'm just saying it's a good movie in general. It shows his acting prowess, if you will. Continue.
Well, it was
Destination
not showing
Wedding.
in this
Check it out
movie.
on Amazon.
I think it's a fact that his most popular movies are all the ones where he has little to no emotion.
he doesn't emote very much. It's true. His delivery
very
is
well.
mostly
And
dry.
Especially in this
I
one.
love Keanu Reeves. Like,
do I.
Whenever he's in an action movie, I'm wet and ready. But
And this seemed
Yeah.
action-esque.
it did.
It wasn't. the last, I'll tell you right now, it was not.
Keanu Reeves, we would love to have you on STGeek Podcast.
Get on here,
Don't be
bro.
deterred by this.
Let's do it.
I would
I
like.
would love to meet you. I would love.
You're supposed to be a sweet guy, Keanu Reeves, and I believe that. So come on.
He just stabs us.
I know, right?
We're the straw that breaks the camel's back. He's just like, fuck these guys.
Continue with your review.
Oh god.
Wait. I have a question for
Sure.
you, real quick. Okay, so you're saying like it kind of some scenes drag a lot.
God,
now,
do they drag.
the first thing that came to mind. Well, two things came to mind. One, that's pretty bad if an audience member realizes like, wow, this scene is lasting way too long. That's pretty sad. Mm-hmm. But that could be on the director and the editor's fault for sure. However, would you say that maybe the intention could have been? I could be wrong. I'm just throwing this out there as an option. Do you think the intention was to make you really feel something for the scene that was happening? Like, were you really supposed to dive into the emotions of what's going on, which is why they make it last so long, so that way you're really invested into what's happening? Like his family dying and such? Or do you think it was just lazy?
I'm glad you asked that because I asked myself that very same question.
Oh my god.
And-
Even worse, an audience member should not be asking these questions when watching a movie.
'Cause I was like-
it's not your fault. It's just a
Right.
bad movie, apparently.
Yes, because I was like, what are they trying to accomplish with this? Like, what is the goal here? Because they're really trying to hammer it home, and they're trying too hard with it. Because, I don't think it would have been as bad if Keanu Reeves was more believable with his emotions. Like he sobs, and then the way he sobs doesn't sound very believable.
Aw.
It's really, I don't know, man.
Well,
I feel like any moral code, or no, that's not what I'm trying to say. Any lesson that you're supposed to learn,
Sure.
any emotional attachment that you're supposed to have, was honestly me projecting onto the film. I don't think I got any of it from the movie.
You had to make it up for the movie.
Yes, I had to think, okay.
Yeah, you filled the gaps yourself. That's not
Without
right.
That's terrible. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it
That's
sucked.
not even
And-
theater of the mind. That's just bad movie.
Peter, I'm kind of curious. How many people were in the theater?
I was going to bring that up. Including me, there were 5.
Nice.
This is opening week, right?
Yes. This was opening day.
Oh.
There were 5 people in the theater. And I'm pretty sure I accidentally stole a guy's seat. Because the theater was so empty.
Mm-hmm.
And there were these... Okay, so I went to AMC. AMC, I don't know if this is all over the country yet, but you when you buy a ticket, you choose your own seat. So I chose a seat smack dab in the middle by myself.
That's awesome.
When I get there, there's 2 guys right next to that seat. And I'm seeing this movie by myself, by the way. So I think, okay, instead of being all up close to these people, like, this theater's empty as fuck, I'm just going to sit 1 seat over, and that's fine. And then, as the movie's about to start, 3 other people show up, and... Yeah, it doesn't matter. Some other people show up.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure they were like looking at me, and then I'm like, and then I'm just
They're
like,
both like, did we
You were
both
that
make
guy,
this bad
man.
I was
decision?
that guy.
You were
Did
that
we-
guy.
I didn't.
no.
Okay.
They wanted
the theater
empathy
was
with
fucking
someone.
empty. I didn't want to see. Like,
They
if
were your seats pre-picked by you?
if I would have sat where I was supposed to sit, there would have been 5 people in this giant ass theater, all elbow to elbow with each other.
So you were
I
in the
was
wrong.
doing everybody a
With plenty of
favor.
space
You
for
were
by
everyone.
stealing this person's. I'm a hero. I
I
am an American treasure.
It sounds like you created a villain.
Right.
That's all I'm hearing.
At one point I seriously thought, because I kept catching him like side eye me every now and then. So I seriously
Can you
thought
believe this shit we're watching right now?
I don't know if it was. I'm pretty sure that guy wanted to tell me something.
Sure. Yeah,
I
he wanted a
was-
connection.
I was half expecting him to say something as we
You
were
should have
leaving
been the one
theater.
to do it.
I was thinking I wouldn't have even been mad if
Want some popcorn?
I'm just saying, like, he wanted someone to relate this with. Like, this movie is not as good as we thought it was going to be. We're both
That's
here
not-
for the same reason. We have terrible friends that didn't watch it with us.
I think we were. I think he was angry that I stole his seat, and I think we were both angry at the movie we were watching. So
it was a twisted
it wasn't a
situation.
good combination of anything. Anyway, one last thing: special effects are god awful.
Okay, yeah, you did mention that earlier.
There's
Which I
there's
can only
one
imagine.
character. Spoiler alert: there's a robot. There's a robot in this movie, an actual robot, and it looks awful. It looks like special effects from RoboCop 2, like the bipedal robo.
Would you say
thing.
it's just as bad as Wolverine from Wolverine Origins?
Worse, way worse, by a long
terrible.
shot.
That's pretty bad.
That's pretty
Really?
It's like
bad.
stop motion. It's so fucking horrible.
Wow.
They had an interesting concept.
Like old school RoboCop stop motion claymation, I guess special effects. You would
Yep.
say. Wow. Okay.
Brilliant idea. Horrible execution.
We're talking about RoboCop from like the 80s or whatever. Not the most.
Not the
recent
most
No,
one.
not
one,
the
yeah.
most
That
recent
one was
no.
okay. I like that one.
I
to
never
a degree.
saw it. I like
It was
the other
alright.
one too much, so
It
I
was
didn't really.
Yeah.
No, for sure. All right, so replicas.
Big pass.
Skip it.
Yo, God.
You sure?
Burn it.
You sure?
Burn it. Fair enough.
If you want to do the world a service, and you see this movie on store shelves, buy them so you can destroy them.
There you go. For the millionaires and billionaires out there, or trillionaires, just destroy it for sure.
I love you, Keanu Reeves, but I'm sorry you got attached to this.
He got paid.
I
I'm
guess.
sure
Yeah,
he's fine with it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, he has more millions in his pocket now, for sure. All right, well, just to let you guys know, we are going to move into our reviews of Unbreakable and Split again to celebrate that Glass is coming out next week, which we will be reviewing. But before we do, just want to let you guys know if you have any questions or topics you would like us to bring up for future episodes, we'll shout you out. Just hit us up on Twitter and Instagram. That's at STGeekPod on Twitter and Instagram. You can also email us stgeekpod@gmail.com. Again, if you have any questions or topics you want us to bring up, feel free to do so. So, Unbreakable, starring Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson, a young, I guess both of them were kind of young for the time.
Oh, yeah.
This is back in 2000, so 19 years ago this movie
Jesus.
was released.
Crazy.
Wild to think. M. Night Shyamalan had a different name for himself back then. He's been slowly rebuilding his, I guess,
Reputation.
Yeah, reputation is a great way to put it. Yeah. But this is back when he was hot shit and he was on fire.
It was right
He-
after The Sixth Sense.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Peter had said that last week, just off the fame of Sixth Sense, which was amazing, also starring Bruce Willis. John, how would you start off the beginning of this movie? By the way, before we get into that, sorry, I just have to say, this is a 19-year-old movie, like we said. We're going to go full spoilers for this. We're going to do the same thing for Split, so if you'd like to not listen to that, jump ahead probably about 40 minutes or so, 30 minutes at least, because we are going to dive right into all this.
19 years for Unbreakable.
Yeah.
No excuses.
No excuses. Yep. Go watch it real quick and then come back and listen to the rest
back.
of this episode. See what you think. See if you share our opinions or if you differ for that matter.
It's like an hour 45, not that long.
No,
Unbreakable, what do you think?
Well, it was great.
It was your first time watching it, right?
Yes, it was definitely awesome. I loved it. Drew me
I'm glad you did.
Right in. And I'll say this. This is my first time watching it. So after watching 10 years of MCU movies, this was refreshing.
A great shakeup, right?
It was so good.
Interesting.
And,
okay.
I mean,
I agree.
not to go too much into it because it was more just about
spill your guts.
like just Bruce Willis, just about his character, not so much about him being a superhero or anything about that.
No,
just
yeah.
about him discovering it.
May I add something to what you're saying?
Yes.
I would say I completely agree with what you're saying, and to add on top of that, I would just say it is a superhero origin movie, but based in very much reality.
Yes.
Like, this man has a real life. He has a real family that is extremely imperfect, to the sense of where at the opening of this movie, his wife won't even look at him. They have no emotional feelings for each other, or they're not allowing each other to know that there's any sort of feelings toward each other anymore. They won't hold hands, let alone barely look at each other. He has a kid that he's kind of deranged from. Like, he doesn't even really... You can tell he loves the kid. You know, it's his son. He loves him. But he doesn't really show much emotion toward him. And you start to see that over the time of the film.
They don't really have a
on.
father-son relationship.
Talking about that, and I picked this up right away. I really liked it because Bruce Willis, he's unbreakable, basically. I mean, he can't really be destroyed. He survived a train wreck, and he realizes how strong he is. But the one thing that is broken in him is his actual life.
So that's a great point.
And I'm sure he did that on purpose.
I never even made that connection, to be honest with you.
Neither did I.
Yeah, I mean, his body can't be broken, but you can tell his spirit was.
Oh, extremely. That's 100%. Why he said he woke up every morning sadness.
Yeah. So it was just crazy that those simple little touches. That's M. Night Shyamalan. He does stuff like that.
He is a good writer when he gives himself the chance to be. You know what I mean? When he's not trying to churn out movies every few years.
In his early days, I was a big fan of him, and I watched a lot of his early movies. So much so that I actually just like did a lot of research on him for no reason. And apparently, he's been an amateur filmmaker for pretty much all of his life since his teens.
I respect that.
And he's had a lot of ideas. A lot of his movies are his original ideas, and that he's kind of had since he was young. That he just kind of makes into film, and some of them are good. Some of them are executed very well. Maybe some of them are the premise, because he thought of it when he was a kid. Like, the premise is a bit too old or something. Like, obvious. I don't need to say that he has hits and he has misses. We all know that. But a lot
of directors and writers do, though, man. Yeah. Spielberg does not have every perfect movie under his belt.
Well, but I feel like most of his movies, the point I'm trying to make anyway, is I feel like most of his movies are from the heart. They're movies that he wants to make. They're his vision. So hate him or love him, good or bad, he makes the movies that he wants to make.
I can commend
for the most part.
Yeah, no.
Then there's The Last Airbender.
It's somewhat uninspired. I mean, M. Night Shyamalan, if you're listening, I doubt it, but if you are, combat us. Let us know. I'm happy to have an argument on the podcast. For sure. A civil argument, of course.
I wouldn't even argue.
No, of course. Yeah. I don't mean to argue in a negative manner. I just mean argumentation and debate. That's all I mean. Yeah, that's all.
I think my only thing about him at this point is get over the twist endings. I mean, every movie doesn't need to be a twist ending.
And this one didn't have one, did it? I don't think it did.
It did.
Yeah.
What was the twist?
Mr. Glass was the terrorist the entire time. Yeah.
There was a subtle one. I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't like a mind-blowing one where it's like, oh my god. It's just more like, this man's a psychopath.
I think...
Which you kind of got the vibe of the whole time.
I'm curious to hear John... Okay, I watched this with my girlfriend and her sister, who had never seen this movie before.
Oh, that's cool.
Didn't even know it was a thing. Didn't know that it was a prequel to Split, or I guess in retrospect it's a prequel to Split since they had never seen it. So I'm curious to hear what you thought about that twist, because they were actually it caught them off guard completely.
Oh, wow.
And it was actually a big deal to them.
You know what? Before you answer, John, I will agree that yes, I guess once upon a time, long ago when I first saw the movie, it did take me by surprise, and I kind of forgot about it this last time I watched it, and I was like, oh crap, that's right, he was a bastard the whole time. Anyway, John, go ahead. Your feelings.
Well, I'll say this: I was not surprised, but that's just because I've seen the trailers to Glass. So I already knew he was a bad guy. So when he kept on talking about these incidents that happened, I kind of figured he was the person.
Oh, really? You thought that the whole time?
Yeah, but that's just because I picked up from Glass. I just put 2 and 2 together. Yeah. So it was still good. Media. Like I could just imagine myself not knowing this and being like, "Oh fuck," because he still does it well enough where you wouldn't assume it was him who did all of these attacks.
Right, like he's a man that's confined to a wheelchair for most of the movie and crutches. You would think he's not really capable of such things, and yet he really is.
Now, does he even have superpowers of any sort?
I don't believe he does. I think he's just manipulative.
That's all it is, right?
He's able to understand who his, not his enemies are, but the people
he's a comic book nerd.
Yeah, I just think that he's willing to do whatever it takes in order for his idea of his own destiny to be fulfilled. Is that correct?
Well,
would you agree with that?
To a certain extent, yeah.
Okay, please,
because right before David Dunn, the Unbreakable guy, the main character, Bruce Willis, right before goes to see Elijah,
yes,
Samuel L. Jackson's character,
yeah,
he's at the exhibition and he meets his mother, and his mother says something along the lines of,
There's always a mastermind.
There's 2 different the types of villains. They're the ones that try to overpower the villain, and they're the ones that try to outsmart the villain.
Yes.
Or outsmart the hero, sorry. And so I feel like that conversation is very relevant going into the next scene where it's revealed that Elijah is actually the villain. And even it feels like he himself didn't even understand his role in this plot, because he says, as David Dunn is walking away, he says, "I finally understand. I know who I am now." Like that's when he realizes that he's who he's supposed to be.
Well, sure, he's kind of like the Lex Luthor to Superman, if you will, in a way.
Yeah,
he doesn't have the brawn of Superman, but he's able to kind of, I guess, outmaneuver him and give him obstacles to deal with.
Yeah, that's the weird thing.
He's not a genius, obviously, but I think he's willing. He knows what it takes to push buttons.
He must be, if he was able to bomb a plane or whatever it was, derail a train,
I guess you're right,
and not get caught.
I don't know if he was a genius. I just think, yeah, you're right. But it also seems like he obviously by the end of the movie, we're kind of jumping way ahead in the movie, but he gets admitted to a psych ward because he does get caught. And he knew he was going to get caught. I think he realized that Bruce Willis's character has the power and ability to see what people are capable of and see what they've done in their past. Yeah, you know what I mean. So he was willing to accept his fate. I don't know if he's a super genius, but I just think he's willing to do whatever it takes to make his destiny come true. I guess, like, to be fulfilled as a human being. Because he said the worst thing in life, or the most frightening thing in life, is to not know what you're here for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so he realized what his, I guess, purpose is to find the potential in others. He's a big comic book nerd. It was the one thing that gave him solace as a child, because he was born with very, very fragile skeletal structure, pardon me. And so with that being the case, he found someone that was the exact opposite of him, Bruce Willis's character. So he wanted to see how far he can push him to see if that was going to be the actual truth. Is this guy as strong as I think he actually is?
Well, his whole reason for doing the terrorist acts in the first place was his thought process was, if there's a person like me that's so fragile, what if there's somebody on the other side of the spectrum who is virtually indestructible?
Which I think
they wouldn't even know that they were.
Exactly.
And that was the case, which was pretty awesome. I think that's just adds to the psychosis of the character, in that he's willing to do whatever it takes to find that, I guess, that kind of catharsis, I suppose.
Yeah. I agree. I like that. I also love that since this is an older, quote unquote, comic book movie, even though it feels very different from any other one.
Superhero movie to a degree.
That's what I mean. Sorry, a superhero movie.
Well, it deals with comic books, so go on.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
In any case, I love that he doesn't explain where these powers come from at all. There's no explanation.
Yeah, because his son doesn't even have it.
Yeah, it's just a thing.
The only thing he briefly just says is there's drawings from Egyptian times.
I thought that part was kind of weird, honestly.
Well, he was just saying that people knew about it. They spread the word. And the
stories get passed on, and then it kind of just gets diluted.
But then they get diluted by media, and then it becomes something else. But once upon a time, the stories were told because of something that was once real. I kind of liked it personally.
I get it, but I felt like it was a bit of a stretch in this world where it's supposed to be pretty grounded in reality. I felt like that was really reaching.
Well, he's also a reaching character. Like, he's willing to blow up trains and all sorts of not natural disasters, but he's willing to be a terrorist just to see if his theory is true.
No, I understand that.
So he's a reaching character in general.
I understand that he believes it, and I get that, but I just mean from a storytelling aspect, I guess
for it to actually be true is a little wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. That threw me for a loop as well. But then when he finishes off with saying that, I don't know. I do agree with you, Peter. But yeah.
Anyway, overall, I thought it was good.
It's a solid.
One thing I also
want
to bring up is that this may have something to do with the lower budget, but I like the way M. Night Shyamalan uses different camera angles, like the intro scene to Elijah's character, the Mr. Glass character, when
oh my god, the mirror,
with the mirror.
Continue, don't let me interrupt.
And how he plays with like going. He looks at characters through the mirror. He pans over and looks at them in real life.
Do you want to describe how the scene, what's going on in the scene?
I can. Okay, so the scene is there's a lady who had just given birth in a hospital. It looks like maybe even on a. I'm not even sure where it was.
It might have been a hospital.
No, I think it was a home.
Yeah, it looked more like a home. That's what I mean. But
sure.
She's on a bed holding her child. And a doctor comes in to check on the child, and the mother's all happy. The baby's crying the whole time, but the mother's very happy. She has a kid, like looks to be her first kid.
Your proud mother.
And then the doctor comes in and like checks on the baby, and he's like, and the mother's asking like, is he supposed to cry like this? He's like, he won't stop. And the doctor, God, I don't know who that actor was, but
he was a great actor, though.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
he really sold this.
M. Night Shyamalan knew who to look for this movie.
Yeah, because as he holds the baby, he talks about how. He starts asking questions, like, immediately. He's not like...
Did you drop the baby?
Yeah.
Did you drop the baby?
Did you drop the baby?
Which was pretty frightening.
Oh, yeah, and then it sets everybody in the room, like, everybody gets alarmed immediately, like, what's wrong?
Becomes silent.
Yeah, and then just the look on his face, he's just like, this baby's, like, his legs have fractures, like, his arms are broken.
Arms and legs are broken.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then even the mother, immediately, she just breaks down.
Your vagina broke him.
Yeah.
Is what he said to her.
Essentially is what was said.
That's the quote, yes. Your vagina broke her, madam.
Your vagina broke him, madam. How properly he stated it. Wow. I don't remember it going down
really
like
sold
that,
it.
but something like that, more or less.
We might be paraphrasing.
It's pretty accurate.
I swear, guys, that's what he says.
And then even the follow-up scene.
Your vagina hath broken thee, madam. Thy son is broken via vagina.
Do you think that was her superpower?
God bless the father, then. He probably lost a penis that day. Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Moving on. Dear Lord.
Okay. Yeah, he was great. He sold it.
That actor as the doctor was awesome.
That was it for me. That caught me.
It actually wasn't M. Night Shyamalan that did the casting for that movie. I don't know the gentleman's name, but I believe it was a gentleman in the credits of that movie. Anyway, moving on. But yeah, great actor for that part.
Yeah, not only great acting, but again, the cinematography, the way it pans into the mirror and then into the characters, and then even the follow-up scene where we're introduced to David Dunn. It's done on a train, and the shot is in between.
It's the little girl's perspective.
I didn't catch that.
It's the little girl's perspective.
Let me just mention what Peter was just talking about, though, with the baby and all that. That was Samuel Jackson's character's origin, essentially.
Yes.
Like his bones are extremely fragile, like I might have mentioned a little while ago, and so this was his origin. He was born with a condition to where, people have just fragile bones. He has stage 1 as opposed to stage 1 through 4. His is on the lesser end, but it's still very troublesome for his character in general, though.
Right.
But anyway, moving on, though, you were saying the introduction of Bruce Willis's character.
Yes. So it's from, like, John I didn't realize it until John just brought it up, but there's a little girl
spot on
the train that you kind of see, and then she's peeking through the 2 chairs on the train, looking behind her, and the camera kind of pans back and forth to where it frames either Bruce Willis or this other girl who just so happens to be on the train also and sits down next to Bruce Willis. And so they're having a conversation, and the camera keeps panning in between the two chairs to frame whichever character is the primary focus.
I didn't realize that either, John. God, you're a good observationalist. You're not bad.
Well said.
Good observer. No, for sure.
And then even throughout the movie, there's a part where David Dunn and Elijah are talking at the football stadium.
Samuel L. Jackson's character, Elijah, yeah.
Should I just say the actors' names? Is that easier?
I mean, yeah, maybe so. For people that haven't seen the movie, it's an old movie. Enough. People might not have seen it.
Okay. So Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson, they're at the football game, and the camera starts off like on them, and then it slowly starts backing up as the conversation goes. There's a part where the two characters again are in a different room, and then the camera starts focused on Bruce Willis, but it slowly starts panning away as the conversation is happening, and right as Bruce Willis is cut out of the frame, that's when the conversation ends. I'm sure there's a few more.
Dude, what about when? Okay, so for instance, the reason why Samuel Jackson's character Elijah gets so into comic books is that when he was a kid, again, he has his condition. He isn't very willing to go play outside because he's afraid of getting his bones broken, essentially, over and over again.
The kids, they call him Mr. Glass.
Exactly, which is a classic line throughout the entire movie, which is awesome. But yeah, he's very sensitive about his condition, physically and emotionally, of course. And so in efforts for him to get outside and be a part of society, his mother buys him a present, which he has to go outside as a young child. He might have been like about 10 years old, maybe a little older or younger, give or take a few years. In order for him to get out and get active a little bit, she inspires him to go outside to a bench because she tells him to buy a present. So he goes out to a bench, which is across the street from their apartment, and he doesn't know what it is. All he knows is that he's excited because his mom bought him something, which is nice. And then he goes out to this bench, and the camera angle I'm talking about is... It's as he's walking across the street, the camera angle is from behind the bench. So you see this box. And it just, as the character gets closer, the camera slowly zooms in forward and comes in closer. And then all of a sudden, Elijah, Samuel L. Jackson's younger version of the character, sits down at the bench. And then right when he opens it, I guess to bring a sort of wonder to the object and realize this is a very important pivotal point in this character's life, is that right when he grabs it, the camera angle is upside down, and then all of a sudden it turns like a full 180 degrees, and it follows the comic book all around. I don't know. It's almost dizzying, quite literally.
Well, you kind of figure, like you said,
it's pretty fun.
It's also when his life takes a 180 degree turn.
Exactly. Yeah. He starts from not believing himself to all of a sudden having confidence in what he believes in for the rest of his life. Right. That's a very good point, John. I agree. So yeah, this movie is full of all sorts of nuances.
Well, that's the kind of director he is, M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, he's a storyteller, and
it's really great.
When he does it right, he hits a home run. Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of movies. I mean, I could name my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies, and this is definitely one of them. Deservedly so, in my opinion. But anyway.
So that happens. He sees the comic book, and then from there, Peter didn't finish saying it, but Bruce Willis. You can kind of see he already has a sixth sense before the train crashes.
Yes.
Because he's in the train, he's kind of flirting with a girl, it doesn't work out. And
he immediately takes off his wedding ring, by the way, which alludes to the fact that he's not in he's in a troubled relationship.
You learn later that they're working towards a divorce.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So the train crashes, and then the next scene. These first couple of scenes were so good. The doctor's asking him questions, and eventually Bruce Willis is like, "Why are you looking at me like this?" And he's like, "There's two reasons. You're the only survivor of a train crash, and you have no
there's not a
scratch
no bruises, no scratches,
nothing like that.
Not a scratch on you." And that's the case.
And then, he's having problems coping with that for a bit, you can tell.
And then after that, he ends up going to the funeral, for the mass funeral, that is, for everyone that did die, everyone but him, on that train crash. And then after the funeral, he goes back to his car, and he finds a note on his windshield saying, what, John?
When was the last time you got sick?
Yes.
Real quick, before we move any further,
Please.
I find it very interesting that what probably would have been a life-changing event to most people, this train crash that you would be very lucky to survive, it doesn't really seem to affect him at all.
Very good observation. I never thought about that, but it's kind of like he's been through it before, and you find out later on in the movie that he has, and to what degree.
Like, there's a scene coming up where his soon-to-be ex-wife comes to him in the house and breaks down and says, "This you surviving that crash was a big deal. Like, I want to try to work this out." And it was at that point that I realized, holy crap, he really just brushed this whole thing off. Like it didn't faze him one bit.
Yeah, no, he
went back to work.
Well, he was depressed though. He is a depressed character.
But you find out when he talks to Samuel L. Jackson that he's unhappy and he doesn't know why.
Yeah, and it's because he's not fulfilled as a person.
Right.
He feels like he doesn't even know what's lacking in his life. He just feels depressed, and he doesn't know. Yeah, he has no idea why. That's a great observation. Okay, so moving on. So he does get the note on his windshield asking if he's ever been sick. And for the first time in probably his life ever, he thought back and was like, wait, have I actually ever been sick? So he questions his wife, who he's been with for 12 years, I believe they say in the movie. Mm-hmm. And she couldn't recall. It was late at night when he asked her, so she kind of blamed it on her being tired, like she couldn't just recall a time. And he never thought about it. He never took a sick day off work, and his boss kind of gave him crap for it.
That was a pretty.
But at the same time, he got a raise.
He gave him raise.
He's like, whatever, wise ass. I guess you get the extra $50 bonus a month or a week. I feel $40. I was like, $40 bonus a week? What the fuck? What am I doing?
I know, for real, right?
I want that in my life. Jesus Christ.
I
love my day job. Thank you for my day job, though. I'm not shunning that. I'm just saying I wouldn't mind a bonus $40 a week minimum. Thank you.
Yeah, so he realizes that he hasn't been sick. So then he tracks down where he got the letter from, and that's when he first meets Mr. Glass.
Yes.
Well, the address for the company that Mr. Glass works at, it was on the card, yeah.
It's like a comic book shop / art
gallery.
Comic book art gallery, yeah.
Yeah. Which was pretty awesome, actually, that he had like original prints from artists that may or may not. I mean, obviously the artists exist, but within this universe, they are comic book artists.
The introduction to this character as an adult, I enjoyed pretty much. He's trying to sell a piece of art
scene.
To this one guy. It's like an original piece of art. For this artist, it was like a rough draft before it even got printed to comic books.
It was the original art of the comic book his mom first bought him. Actually.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
You didn't notice that? Yeah.
Oh.
He actually makes a good point about that. He said, so the piece of art that the gentleman was looking at, that he was looking to sell this gentleman, he was saying, this is the original artwork of it, but then over time, though, when it comes to magazine stands, it kind of gets diluted by media, and it gets cartooned up quite a bit.
Okay.
To paraphrase what he says.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so he sells this buyer on it, and he sold. He said, I'll take it. And then Mr. Glass is walking away being, just like, okay, the sale's done. And then the person buying makes a statement, something along the lines of like, oh, my kid's going to love this.
Yes.
To which Mr. Glass responds to very, very aggressly. He's like, how old's your son? And he's like, 4. And he's just like, I'm not going to let you give this very valuable piece of art to a kid. He has a very minus the cursing, he has a very Samuel L. Jackson
reaction to it.
Like, there was no motherfucker in there.
Yeah. He's just like, does this look like a toy store? Do I have a name tag on my shirt? Do you see a helicopter outside with kids putting quarters in it? No, this is not a toy store.
Yes, exactly. And I love that about it.
Yeah.
That's a good point. He was very Samuel L. Jackson about it, but still very much still contained within that character, and not contained in a bad way. Just he was still that character, Elijah, well, I guess Mr. Glass, if you want to say, but you can still see that charisma / kind of just brash attitude. I loved it.
Yeah, that was great. Great introduction to him as an adult.
Most definitely. Yeah, you see that he actually takes the shit very seriously.
Oh yeah.
Super seriously, and I really appreciate definitely. He talks about like the tropes of the villains and the superheroes. How he's saying that villains have bigger heads than their bodies, and
oh yeah, it's very disproportionate and stuff.
Yeah, he's very in depth with the illustrations,
and how like the hero usually has like a nice square jaw and such like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for instance, I forget what the villain's name was, Jaguaro or whatever. His head was much bigger than the rest of his body. His legs were much tinier than the rest of his torso and chest.
And then he even says it's uncommon for villains and their traits.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that because that's stuff I don't ever.
He's
really
very analytical. Mm-hmm. Yes, and he takes it again. He takes his work very seriously and his analytical, I guess, prowess very seriously. Yes.
Yeah. So then Bruce Willis is in denial. And then I believe from there we go into the scene where he starts bench pressing, right?
I believe so.
That's like the next big scene.
He starts kind of testing himself. Yeah, he's going to work out.
And I like that scene. That scene was pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome, yeah.
How they
I
keep
agree.
on adding Wade.
It's he and his son hanging out, essentially. And again, he and his son don't really have the closest relationship, but this is like one of their few bonding times, probably in the son's whole life, I would say.
Because of the car crash, the son is under the impression... Train crash, sorry.
I gotta go pee. You guys continue.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Don't lose your shit, Peter.
No,
here we go. What happened?
I
What
mean,
were you talking about? Oh, God.
I mean, I don't know how you're going to get out of here with me where I'm at, AJ.
I'll make it work. I'll make it fucking work. I'm on Peter's mic now.
Yes, he is. He's going.
Yep.
Peter's face is...
AJ's breath all up in my face.
Oh,
he fell down on the back of his
gross.
neck.
Oh, God.
That's gross.
I thought we were done with this. This is why we got separate mics. Anyway, what the fuck was I talking about?
I don't remember, AJ, actually. Pretty much... Terrible.
Oh,
and he's outside. Okay, so
Okay,
you were
now the real
talking
fun
about
can
Mr.
begin.
Glass and done. Continue.
There's a lot of talking about that. Why does AJ always got to derail the podcast like this? Yes, I don't remember what the fuck I was talking about. You guys are doing
Derailed
this
like
to
the
me.
train that Dunn was on.
This was all planned. It was part of the bit.
So
just
we
for
were
that
talking
joke.
about him bench pressing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So his son is, after the train crash happens, he somehow gets it in his mind that his father is actually
superhero,
indestructible. He's a superhero. So without Bruce Willis's knowledge, he adds more weight to as he's bench pressing, as he's working out in his basement.
Yeah, that was great.
Which I thought was very cool. I kept thinking to myself, how is this little... These plates are heavy as shit. As a person, as an on and off gym goer, I'm like, some of these plates are heavy as fuck to lift. How is this... It doesn't matter. It's a small detail that probably won't bother most people, but it took me out of it just a little bit. But anyway, the scene is very good as a whole, so it doesn't really matter. So he adds... The son adds some more weight than Bruce Willis's character is normally bench presses. And Bruce Willis kind of scolds his kid for it. He's like, that could have been dangerous. But he still goes forward with it because you could see that he's starting to get curious about his potential. Like, maybe there's some truth to it. So he tells his kid to add more weight. And they just keep going and going and going to the point to where they add all the weights that they have onto this bench press, as well as even like 4 gallons of paint.
Yeah.
And he's still able to he says that he was the highest he's ever lifted was 230.
Yeah,
and at that point it was at like 350, so something along those lines. So
like an additional 125 pounds.
And that made me think, if he's always been like this superhero,
how would he not discover this sooner, right?
Well, maybe
that's what I got.
He probably kind of always had it in the back of his mind, because I was wondering more so, 230, was that really his max, or did he choose to stop there when he was younger?
It's possible, but he also did say it was dangerous. I
mean,
don't think he said that for the sake of his son. I think he just never realized what he was capable of to the full degree. I think he just lived his life as a normal human. Because if you notice, every time he bench presses, no matter what the weight, he does struggle.
I was
going to
bring that up. Yes,
he does struggle. So
struggles.
it's like I just think he never took the time to realize how powerful his potential was. Only because it is his potential. Every time the weight is gained or added, he does have to push himself every time. It's just that I guess he just took himself. I mean, he never knew otherwise. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Because why wouldn't you, like, if you're struggling to bench press weight, why wouldn't you be like, okay, if I go any further, I run the risk of hurting myself. So of course your reaction is going to be like, okay, I think this is my max. Like, you're not just going to be like, I'm going to throw on another 100 pounds just for the fuck of it.
Yeah, if it's hard and if it kind of hurts a little bit and you struggle, why push it sometimes, you know?
Right.
I mean, some people go to seek a higher max, but obviously he's
it in
kind
increments.
of just like a normal guy, though. He's not... that's what part of the thing that I love about this movie and his character is that he's a regular Joe kind of guy. He's a security guard for a college stadium, you know? Yep. He's not a superhero. He's not.
That's
in his mind, he's not special.
That's another part of the plot that comes into play a few times. He was actually supposed to be. He was go to college and play football. Like, apparently he was a very good football player in high school, and he was supposed to.
I loved what his wife said. But to paraphrase, he was like, "What you could do physically was amazing."
I know,
etc. And I was like, I wish I could have seen. Like, I can't even imagine this guy getting sacked. But again, if he didn't know his potential, obviously he could have been tackled and such.
Yeah, so they even hint that even in his younger years that there was something special about him.
What were you going to say, John?
I don't remember.
Derailed.
Right
Yeah.
there.
Like the train.
Like the train.
Like the train. Oh my god. Hashtag derailed.
Yeah, so then after that, we get to the next tense scene where the son pulls a gun on.
Oh
gun.
my god.
That was
This is a pretty tense scene.
Yeah.
And for your first time seeing it, John, like what was going
It
through
was
your mind?
great. I was at the edge of the bed. I was laying down, guys.
Did you think he was gonna get shot?
What happened?
Did you think he was gonna get shot?
I thought he was. I thought when that kid nailed that scene. I thought
Good
he was
actor.
I thought he was gonna pull the trigger.
He's still an actor to this day, by the way.
Really?
He's not really an A-list actor, but he's in
He's
some pretty good big stuff every now and then.
So yeah, it's crazy. I thought he was gonna get shot, and even like when Will Ferrell, oh my god, Bruce Willis.
Damn, that would have been
Close
a
enough.
movie.
Bruce Willis actually acts like a dad and talks to his kid. He screams at him and
So I'm like, you're going to be in big trouble if this happens. Like, he even goes as far as to believe, not believe what his son is saying, but he's the thing is, his son is so caught up in the idea that Samuel L. Jackson's character, Elijah, has been spilling to his family, saying that, you are capable of all of this, et cetera, et cetera. So his son is so wrapped up in that he's willing to test it no matter what. Test his dad no matter what. So he's willing to shoot him to prove how powerful his dad is. But the thing is, I guess Bruce Willis's character is like, you know what, fine. I don't think he believes that he's as strong as he's being told he is. But in order to calm his son down, he's like, you know what? Yeah, I am that
Shoot
strong.
me.
I can't take that bullet. Shoot me. But if
But
you do, I'm leaving and I'm never
Yes.
coming back. Because later
you
on,
want daddy issues? You gonna get them.
earlier in the movie,
You're gonna be stripping through college.
you find out that Bruce
in
Willis
10
is
years.
looking for another job in New York, and their family lives in, I don't know, Boston or whatever. I actually
Philadelphia.
don't know.
Philadelphia.
Yep. Thank you, Philadelphia.
West Philadelphia, to be
born and
precise.
raised. That's right. I thought that in the beginning of the movie.
That's why I remember it
Yes.
specifically. because of that.
I forget the rhyme I was going with, but it was off that jingle for sure, off that melody. But anyway, yeah. So it's a very dramatic scene. The son is willing to do whatever it takes to prove his dad is extraordinary, and so Bruce Willis is like, "Fine, you could shoot me, but if you do, I'm never coming back." And essentially, that's kind of what the kid was anticipating from the beginning of the movie, because Bruce Willis is trying to find a job outside of where he lives, because he and his wife are in the middle of potentially separating and divorcing.
By the way, real quick, Bruce Willis's character is an armed security guard. I know we mentioned that earlier, but in case you were wondering where the gun came from, it's implied that he just got it from his father.
Yeah. Well, he keeps it like in the closet.
He pulls it out.
Oh, does he?
Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. He finds it in the closet, and he it's like covered in a rag.
And
It's
he-
actually
I
not
must
very
have
well
missed that
hidden.
part.
Yeah, he even tells the kid, "You don't know where I keep the bullets," and he's like, "You keep it in your trophy."
Yep.
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 Okay. I mean, I remember hearing that, but I must have missed the part where he puts the gun away or what have you.
I loved that part too, where the kid answered for him and told him where
Yeah,
he found
that
the
was-
bullets and
it's a
loaded it
very
himself.
intense
That's
scene.
when that scene becomes extremely real, and it's like, oh my god! And by the end of that scene, spoiler alert: the kid doesn't shoot him because he realizes what he's doing. And his dad talks sense to him, but you can see that by the end of that scene, the whole family is like completely traumatized by the act.
The
It's-
wife
it's-
drops to her knees.
They
and
all
she's-
do by the end
yeah.
of it. They're
Yeah,
all sitting
it's like
down
a-
on
It's
the
very
floor.
tense.
We skipped this a bit, but it is shown and hinted that he has like a spidey sense. He's able to kind of sense things.
Yes.
He
So-
needs to touch a person, and he can
And
kind of
then
see the bad things that they've done.
Yes.
So he sees somebody has a gun when Samuel L. Jackson's with him, and he's like, "How did you know that he had something on him?" And he said, "I just have a feeling."
Silver handgun with a black handle, if
Yes,
I'm not
so
mistaken.
Samuel-
Silver or black grip.
Samuel L. Jackson chases him around, and then the guy actually goes down to the subway. Samuel L. Jackson chases him, but he's scared because he's like glass, and he's going down the steps, and you can see he's about to trip, and then he actually trips, and it's a pretty nasty fall. It's like,
Oh,
ooh.
God.
It would be nasty
It's
for
very
for
cringy.
anyone, let alone his condition.
But
Yeah,
he,
exactly.
But he saw that he had the gun, and he got a smile on his face.
He was like in awe as he was passing out from the fall.
Because
yeah.
at this point in the movie, even he's skeptical about Bruce Willis's character.
Because there are holes in Bruce Willis's ability, like
Yeah.
Bruce Willis points out, maybe I've never been sick, but I almost drowned once, etc.
Yeah.
He almost died in a car crash one time.
So I feel like
He was injured in college.
Yeah, so this is the moment where he I feel like the turning point where he starts to actually believe it. Like he plays with the idea, but this is the point where he's like, okay, I think this might be for real.
Yeah,
and then
agreed.
He has a conversation with Dunn saying, "You were right. He had the gun on him." And then he also told him, "You brought up you're feeling sad, and I know what it is, and it's you're lacking something."
He's not fulfilled in his abilities in his life. Yeah, he's not fulfilling his potential.
Yeah. So then that happens, and then we jump forward just a bit after when the kid pulls the gun on him, and he calls him, and he's like, "What do I need to do?" And he said, "Just go to a public area, and then you'll know."
Yeah. You're saying that Bruce Willis's character calls
Samuel
Jackson's character
Mr.
to
West,
ask, okay, fine, he's starting to buy into it. What do I need to do to be able to, I guess, to test himself?
And
further?
he says, go where the people are.
So where does he go? To the subway to fill people up.
I thought about this while he was doing it. I was like, nowadays, if
You can't get away with that.
Yeah.
He's standing out in the middle of a crowd and putting his
With
hands
that raincoat
out
over him and everything?
Yeah, I was like, dude, you're waiting to get arrested. Like, you're a molester, essentially.
It's
like,
really weird the way
like,
he does it, too, because he goes right in the middle, and then he just kind of, like, spreads his hand out. Like
as if someone would walk into that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe if they really weren't paying attention, I'd be someone that wouldn't pay attention.
His arms are still at his sides. He's not, like, T-posing or anything, but it's still a bit weird.
It's still a little weird.
Yeah.
It's subtle enough, but maybe not quite to be believable. Either way, it's a nice touch, though.
It was for dramatic effect, for sure.
It worked out. It was nice. And so he sees all sorts of things, like, I mean, just terrible acts. You know, he sees one guy molest a girl who's drunk or whatever. That's awful. But he picks and chooses his battles, and where he realizes he doesn't have any evidence or proof. So the worst he can do is maybe beat someone up for doing what they did.
Yeah, so
but he doesn't do it anyway.
Exactly.
He keeps it low key, and then eventually, go ahead.
Yeah, well, because to your point, most of the things that he sees are things like that he can't do anything about.
Yeah,
he's like, a lady stole from like a jewelry store.
Yes.
There's the guy who took advantage of a drunk woman.
Even earlier than that, at the football stadium, he sees or he feels a woman that beat her child. Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
That was pretty rough to see.
That
and even he's really affected by it, but he doesn't react upon it because he realizes he doesn't have any proof as to what she's doing.
Yeah.
You know, what can he really do?
And
to
even if he,
her?
like he was,
it's pretty awful, but it shows how powerless in a way he kind of is, at least as far as the law is concerned.
I mean, at that point, that power is good alone because he'd be like, this person did bad, I'm going to call the cops. So.
Yeah, that is a good point. And which he does later on in the movie.
Yeah.
To get into that. But what is the final thing that breaks the camel's back?
He actually bumps into a person
who works at the subway, right?
Yes, who's actually
janitorial.
Who's a murderer.
Yeah, he's a murderer.
And who's actually, and it's something that he can actually,
scene.
It's something that he can actually investigate. So he does.
Yes,
it's a
good way to put it. The thing is, he sees this janitor that works for the subway station. It's like a subway, train station, whatever, etc.
Yeah, it's something like that.
I hate that I use the word etc. considering the movie we're going to be reviewing right after this. Anyway, so yeah, he finds
you 9-year-old
this huge, like over 6 foot tall janitor, big guy. He bumps into him on accident, totally by accident, and he sees a memory of this janitor showing up at this really nice home, and he says, you know, can I come in? To the man that owns the home, and the man's like, oh no, we're fine. The man is really polite that answers the door, and then eventually he's like, no,
super creepy too.
I like your house, and he's smiling as he says it, and he's like, no, you're fine. What's going on? And then all of a sudden, this huge janitor guy like slowly peels open the door, even though the owner of the home is trying to hold him back, and then eventually the man just opens the door, takes the man, throws him down a flight of stairs in the basement, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Overtakes his family, essentially makes this rich man's house his own home.
Yeah.
And so that's when Bruce Willis becomes completely disturbed by this.
Well, at this point in the story, we only see this one man who he kills.
Yes.
So we're just led to believe that it's that. But
like you said, it's something to investigate.
And that's all they show. Like
I
thought it was just going to be the one guy.
Yep.
I even thought he was single.
Which is the best part about it. You realize that there's more to it once you get there. So go on, Peter. How would you say the story goes?
So he goes to investigate. He follows the guy back to his house, this house that he stole, essentially.
Yeah, when he's off work.
Yeah. And he investigates. He goes into the house. He sees this.
Right when he opens the door, almost. Doesn't he
pretty
see
much
something?
Right when he opens the door, he realizes that the door that he's walking through is the same door he saw in his vision. And then he looks down a flight of stairs where he saw the man being that was thrown. So he starts looking around the house. The guy's in the house, but he's distracted. We don't really see.
He's drinking a beer.
Yeah, we don't really see what he's doing, but he's preoccupied. He's not really. He's not aware of Bruce Willis's presence at all.
Yeah.
So he looks around a bit.
So scary.
He goes upstairs and he sees that there are actually two. He hears children sobbing, and so he investigates in the upstairs bathroom, and he sees that there are two kids just tied up in the bathroom.
It's scary.
Very disturbing.
Crazy,
Yeah.
Because they don't prepare you for that at all. They just, like, this is also a thing.
Like you said, a man gets thrown down a flight of stairs, that's all you know.
Yeah.
Until this point.
And so he rescues them. And
he unties them, at least, yeah.
He unties them. They know that he's there to help. They don't know who he is, obviously.
He tells them to be quiet.
But he tells them, be quiet. And then as he's trying to help them escape, the murderer guy finds him by surprise.
Actually, well, he goes up to the master bedroom, though, first.
Oh, okay.
And then he finds someone tied to, like a heating unit, doesn't he? Like
something
a room heater?
Like that.
It's the wife of the husband.
Okay.
The man that got thrown down the stairs, but I think she's already dead at this point.
Well, we don't know that at this point, but later on we find out that she is.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that happens. And then the murderer takes Bruce Willis by surprise by just pushing him out of the window.
It's like off a balcony.
And then directly onto a pool with a pool cover. And I don't know if we mentioned this before.
Thank you for touching on it. Thank you.
We actually learned that as a kid, he almost drowned in the
like elementary school.
In like elementary school. And so he has this, not only does he have this phobia of water, but Mr. Glass, Samuel L. Jackson's character, his hypothesis is that water is his kryptonite. Although he's unbreakable, this is the one way he can die. Presumably there might be more
via drowning.
Yeah, but he can drown and he can die that way.
Yes.
So as an audience, you know that, and so as soon as you realize the way it's shot, he falls out and then he kind of lands on something soft and bubbly. You kind of don't know what it is immediately.
But then full cover.
Yeah. You might, because
I didn't know that's what it was.
Exactly. Like I feel like the first time, I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, "What happened?" And so when you realize it's raining, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. Which is worse for his phobia.
Yeah. Exactly.
I imagine.
So once you realize what it is, and then you see the pool cover kind of start to get pulled in because of his weight being pushed on it, that's when you're like, "Oh crap!" You really start to freak out because you're like, he might actually die here, especially in the pool cover. It's the way it's shot really makes you feel
quickly.
Like it sinks and it wraps around him, so it's not as easy as just going up to the surface. Like I would imagine you would be very disoriented,
especially with a phobia of his.
Exactly, to add to it, and then the way it's shot really makes a lot of it's from his perspective under the water, and you definitely feel disoriented and disorganized and very helpless.
Yeah,
and so you see an object, a water rake thing. Being placed into the water.
A net, yeah.
Yeah.
But you see the handle come into the water. Yeah.
Exactly. And then he reaches for it. He's able to get pulled out, and then you see that it's the two children that he helped earlier.
Yeah.
They went outside, and they helped him come back out. To which he goes back into the house.
Without them, he probably would have died right then and there.
Yeah,
really.
without a doubt. Yeah. And so he goes back into the house, back into the same room that he was just in, where the murderer guy's looking over the wife who's chained up and like spits on her,
spitting beer at her. Yeah, he's a gross character,
very
for sure.
very gross. And he sneaks up on him and starts to choke him out in a very very.
This scene is amazing.
It's pretty good. It really makes you feel the struggle, because
scary.
Even though he's unbreakable, you can still.
He's not a fighter though.
Exactly.
He's not a brawler. He doesn't take them on punch by punch.
He doesn't even know what he's doing.
It's not a classic action scene.
Yeah.
He's like just holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
And choking him out.
Yeah. So he gets behind him and he starts choking him out in the classic wrestling choker move.
And he's like a good maybe foot shorter than this guy too.
Yeah.
This guy's like a brick house.
And this guy is literally fighting for his life. Like he's pushing him up against a wall.
He's not pushing. He's like smashing and breaking the drywall behind him. It's a rough scene.
Yeah, and
it's a rough scene.
It really is.
It's very, I guess, just violent.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is fighting for his life.
It feels very real, and it's all one shot. It's not even. It's not cinematic or anything. It's you see the whole thing from start to finish.
Scene, which makes me wonder. Like I was thinking about this. I never thought about it before this, but how did they pull off the special effects looking like this? Like again, I don't know if it's actually Bruce Willis holding on to this guy or not, but he gets smashed through drywall repeatedly.
Oh, yeah.
He gets this big man that he's choking out is throwing elbows into his rib cage the entire time, over and over again. He's smashing him to the floor, into the walls, into the bed, over and over again, how did M. Night Shyamalan pull this off? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? It was such a violent scene. I love it. And especially because not only right when it happens, right when Bruce Willis chokes him out is when the villain drinks like a big gulp of beer. So not only is he choking to death, but he's drowning in the beer that he's drinking as well.
I didn't catch that.
It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
Like, I just... Again, that's the thing I like about this movie is that Bruce Willis, it doesn't show him as a fighter. Yeah, he's a protector. He's a guardian of sorts. And he chose his profession, I guess maybe... what's the word I'm looking for? Unconsciously? Is that a good word to use?
Yeah.
So, subconsciously, I should say.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe so. He doesn't know why he did it. He just feels like it's his job. He never thought twice about it.
Elijah brings that up earlier in the movie. He's like, "Do you think it's a coincidence that you chose out of all the professions you could have chose, you chose one that protects people? You're a security guard."
And again, he's not much of a fighter. He doesn't do anything to this guy besides hold on for dear life, choking him, and he doesn't stand much of a chance other than the fact that he is unbreakable, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Go on, please. Forgive me for interrupting. I
that's
love
fine.
that.
No, it is
I
a
love
really
that
good scene.
violent scene so much.
Yeah.
It's so real.
So in the end, after a very rough struggle, Bruce Willis manages to take the guy down. Presumably he's just dead.
Murders him.
Yeah.
He's just dead on the floor, and he drops him. And then he goes to rescue the wife, and is immediately as he unties her, she just drops to the floor.
Yeah.
She died.
At first I thought, because I hadn't seen this movie in a while.
Might be hope. Yeah.
Yeah, at first I thought maybe she was just malnourished. Maybe she was just like unconscious or something. But yeah, they do explain in the next scene that she actually was dead.
Yeah. There's like a newspaper headline.
Yeah, exactly. In the same newspaper headline, by the way, in the following scene, because this is like the follow-up, the very next scene is when he actually pushes that newspaper. He's at the breakfast table. His wife's making breakfast. Across from him, Bruce Willis's character, that is his son. And he pushes this newspaper clipping talking about what had happened, the hooded figure who rescued two children.
With a wife and dad, that father that are dead.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. He pushes that newspaper clipping towards his son, and his son kind of freaks out, and then he's just nodding to him like,
He says, "You were right."
He mouths, "You were right."
Yeah.
And then he tells him to he does the finger on the mouth thing, like just keep it to yourself.
Yeah, because the mom's right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And following that's when we get the scene where he...
Like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, we talked about earlier, he goes to Elijah.
Yeah, the exhibit. The mother tells him about there being two kinds of villains.
Mm-hmm. You know, one that tries to hit him.
One that fights
force,
one that fights the superhero one who's actually schemes everything.
Right. And one that fights him with his mind.
And then they actually talk with each other, and then he.
And you think they're going to be friends for a second there.
Well, you definitely do, because Samuel Jackson said, "Do you feel better now?" And he's like, "Did you wake up happy?"
And he did.
And Bruce Willis looks a lot happier even in this scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they go to shake hands.
Yeah.
Which is the pivotal moment, though.
That's when it happens. And then, like Peter said, that's when he's like, if there's somebody who's as fragile as I am, then there must be somebody on the opposite end who's stronger, unbreakable.
And Elijah, Samuel L. Jackson's character, knew this would happen. He's already aware of Bruce Willis's power. So he did this intentionally. He's the one that said, "I guess we should shake hands now."
Yes.
So
he wanted him to know.
And
yes, exactly.
And then that's when he admits to him that he killed all of these people to find him.
Well, he didn't even have to admit it. He kind of just let him touch him, and
and then he saw everything. I forgot about the yes.
He realized that Bruce Willis's character realizes, like, oh my god, the reason why the train crashed, the reason why all these terrorist acts have happened,
it was a train
is
crash
because of Samuel L. Jackson's character.
It was a building burning down and some other thing I don't remember.
But all these things,
plane.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right. The plane. So it was 3 acts of terrorism.
And then he even tells him, he's like, "This is how it starts with villains and superheroes. They're friends at first, and they go through this." So it's pretty.
And the thing
cool.
is that they're the exact opposites. Yes.
I don't know how I felt about the very end where you get the
where are they now?
He turned them in.
Yeah,
yeah.
That was very like late '90s esque. I will agree with that for sure. I mean, but at least it goes to show that from the trailers of Glass, it's exactly what it says it is. Now Mr. Glass is in a psych ward for sure.
You know what I mean? But the way Split ended isn't the same way.
True.
Glass.
That's kind of what the mystery is. Like, how does it end up where Glass, the movie Glass, is now? Like, what happens? I think it's more
so how does the
villain
get
into that.
Yeah, the Beast end up in.
We'll get into that. So that is Unbreakable.
Great movie.
Ultimately, what would you guys rate it? Skip it, rent it, buy it?
Buy it.
I think in a lot of ways it's more relevant now than it was back then.
Sure. Well, considering the fame and fortune of the MCU, I totally agree.
Like I said, this was such a refresher for me that
I'm glad you got to have that, man.
It was great.
I'm happy for you.
There are a lot of things that about this movie that I feel are dated, but
I said the same thing to John earlier.
But the writing is so good, and the intrigue, especially if you don't know anything about it going in. Like, it does a good job of pulling you in. You immediately start asking questions, and it slowly starts feeding you this narrative.
To reveal itself.
Contrary to replicas. because here's the thing.
Here we go.
Here's the thing.
Here we go.
So Keanu Reeves, I'm so sorry. Continue, Peter.
So Unbreakable... for them it doesn't have a lot of action going on. There's a lot of talking and there's a lot of setup.
Yeah.
Replicas does the same thing, except it sucks.
Okay.
Take notes, Keanu Reeves.
Because a lot of it goes nowhere. There's a part in the movie where so his wife, his family dies. He takes them back into the house. He's gonna make clones of them, and then there's a plot point. A lot of the plot points in that fucking movie. I'm still ranting again. I apologize. I'll make it short. I'll try to make it short. But they need to keep the power on, otherwise the cloning process will fuck up or some shit. So he goes around the neighborhood and steals a bunch of car batteries and like hooks them up, and that's his backup generator. And then the police come investigate, and he's like, "Hey, they're stealing a bunch of generators. Did they get yours?" And he's like, "No." And they're like, "Okay, you're the lucky one. Bye." And then it never gets brought up again. It was totally pointless. There was no reason for that. They created a conflict, solved it 10 minutes later, and it went nowhere.
That's called a plot hole, my friend.
It's called bad
Lazy
writing.
Yeah. I agree. I almost wish I saw it just so I can relate with you more about it. But I appreciate you explaining it as much as you have, though.
It's so terrible. But see, the one similarity is that the same thing, the only similarity is that most of it is talking. And then towards the end, we get some action.
You get a big payoff for Unbreakable.
Yes, but it works with Unbreakable because again, it builds a narrative. Although it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of exposition,
it's
a lot of
slowly building into something final, until a climax.
Yes,
a real climax.
Whereas Replicas, it just felt like they were killing time, and then they got to the good part.
I agree. I can agree with that. Not seeing Replicas, I will agree as far as what you said about Unbreakable. So I can only relate to how that would be the anti-Unbreakable with Replicas, I guess. That makes very little sense.
I could do a whole bonus episode talking shit about Replicas.
Maybe we will. If you want to hear that, let us know at STGeekPod on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to hear me just
review it
let us know,
hatefully,
please.
I will do that.
Any post you see, comment and let us know. That'd be awesome.
So what were you guys' verdicts?
I said buy it.
Oh, yeah, it was buy it. Sorry,
I actually owned the DVD somewhere. Couldn't find it, so I rented it on fucking... on Xbox Live for like $4 for the HD version of Unbreakable.
Yep, right.
Worth it though.
Watch it, guys.
Worth it. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Solid movie. All right, now our review of Split. But again, if you ever have any questions or topics you want us to bring up, we'll shout you out on the following episode. STGeekPod@gmail.com. Also Twitter and Instagram @STGeekPod. Let us know. Also, we do have a little bit of a fun promo video we have coming out pretty darn soon on our YouTube channel. You can also find links to that on, again, Twitter and Instagram as well. If you're curious, just search STGeekPod. You'll be able to find us on there. And we're going to actually start editing that right after this episode is recorded, I should say. It's going to be a fun, spicy little time. We'll put it that way. Anyway, Split. Boys, talk to me. John, I want your first words.
Ooh.
Meh.
Wow!
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow!
Holy shit!
Seriously?
Honestly, I think.
Did you watch it on your phone?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I think it has to do with the fact that Unbreakable was so good to me.
Okay.
That following up, it was kind of hard.
Unbreakable is pretty original.
Yeah, and Split just it really. I don't get me wrong, it was good.
It's a good movie,
but I can say that I watched Unbreakable straight without looking at my phone, without being distracted at all. Split, I kind of got distracted here and there.
Okay, well, I feel what you're saying. Why don't you give us like your idea of the synopsis, the idea of what the film is, beginning to end, within like.
Well, why don't we just break it down from the beginning to end?
Start it off.
I think that's the best.
So I'm curious. Before we get into that, I'm curious if the reason you feel that way is because you already know that it is a sort of sequel to Unbreakable,
I feel like
and then
the
you
trailers
also
might
you already
have
know you already
that,
know where the plot is
it
going.
might dilute your opinion.
I already knew about this movie before.
Did
Glass
you know what
was a
happened
thing.
in the movie?
I knew all of that.
You knew that people were locked up and
yeah.
Oh, see, that's part of the problem. I didn't know much about that.
I feel like God, what was the name of the movie? J.J. Abrams' movie with John Goodman was better.
Oh,
was a better,
Cloverfield Lane, yeah.
Having somebody locked up in a basement.
I will agree.
And don't get me wrong,
but this is one of the better M. Night Shyamalan movies, though. Easily,
I don't think that.
Really?
I mean,
I think it's way better than Devil for a contemporary film.
Yeah, because you're naming one of the shittier ones. I mean, you still got
that's one of his.
You
still got a good one. What are we talking about?
I wouldn't say good.
You still
it's
got
okay.
The Sixth Sense, The Village, Unbreakable. I mean, those
everything
are top
else.
3. Everything else is,
Lost Airbender.
Yeah, I love The Village. I thought The Village was great.
Yeah, okay.
The Village is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if the payoff was as well as it should have been.
Oh, and Signs.
I like Signs.
Signs, I think is my number
one of the goats.
Yeah, I think it's my number
one of the goats. Easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie was scary as I have a story.
Oh, I'm getting chills.
I can tell you a story about that fucking movie one day.
Okay.
Maybe on this podcast.
You want me to tell you about it real quick? I'm just going to say
I have a story about Split, which I may have told you guys.
It's not a long story. Long story short, me, my dad, and my 2 younger sisters went to go see that movie when it first hit theaters. We were over here in the theater right down the street from this house. And, okay, there's a scene where an alien walks across the street in Mexico. Remember all the Mexican kids are saying whatever
they were
they're
watching
saying?
It on the news.
Yes, exactly.
That's what made
it worse. And all of a sudden,
worse.
you see the alien walk across the screen, right? My little sisters were in... Okay, look, it's my little sister, one baby sister, my dad, another sister, and me. Both of my sisters were sitting across from my dad. My dad's in the middle of them. They both jumped out of their seats literally in a moment and both landed in his lap. As soon as it happens, they each instinctively took a leg. I've never seen this happen before. They both jumped over the armrests onto his lap instantaneously.
Like in Scooby-Doo?
Yes. It was amazing.
Scooby-Doo ends up in Shaggy's arms?
I've never seen anything like that in reality. It was amazing. It's not like they crawled over the armrest. They instinctively jumped off their asses.
Zoinks.
Onto him. Yeah.
Yep.
They scoobed it. It was amazing. I was scared shitless, but I was the only boy, so I had to try to act tough. Scared out of my mind.
There was a puddle where you were sitting, though?
Oh, for sure. Scared out of my mind. Great movie.
Yeah.
Signs? Oh.
Amazing.
Swing away, Meryl.
Since we're talking about stories, specifically with M. Night Shyamalan movies,
sure.
and this ties into what about
so
John and the Split thing. So I knew going into this movie, I knew little to nothing. I think I saw the trailers, I knew the basic premise, but other than that, I didn't really know anything. And this is a small callback to the Enter the Spider-Verse episode with AJ and being particularly bad about not liking spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm very much the same way, although I think you are the king. But that's not what I want to talk about. I appreciate that. I'm also very big on spoilers. I love movies. I love experiencing.
I love to be surprised.
Exactly. I love experiencing movies the way they're meant to be experienced, and
yes.
I
not anymore.
absolutely hate it when they're spoiled.
We're part of a podcast now.
Yeah, I'm sure to spoil it for both of you guys.
I watch trailers now. You got to give me that credit.
You're gonna know the rumor is that might ruin the movies for you, though.
Whatever, man.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. Whatever.
It's gonna happen. Doesn't bother me as much.
Go on, Peter.
Anyway, I remember when I went to go. The movie was out for a week. I hadn't seen it yet, and I was working with a girl.
Which movie?
Split. Sorry.
Okay.
And she was I asked her, like, she mentioned that she had seen the movie, so I asked her, "Oh, like, how is it?" And she was like, "Oh, it's really good. It's great. I loved it. It's a sequel to Unbreakable. You have to know that going in. You just have to know that going in." Like, and I'm just like, I don't think I needed. I didn't know that. I don't think I needed to know that.
It got spoiled for me too, bro.
I'm pretty sure if I needed to know that, I would know that. Like, why?
It would have been in the advertising.
They would tell you.
Yeah.
And
that's the fucking Shyamalan twist
ending.
Yeah. You know that about Shyamalan.
So then she's just like, "No, you totally need to know." And I'm like, "I don't think I did."
You don't need to know it at all. It's a self-contained story.
She stole that from me.
Yeah, no.
She stole the aha moment.
Channel 5 News stole it from me, sir, so don't feel too bad.
Oh, Jesus.
Channel 5 News stole it from me.
I looked
but
at it
it's
myself.
worse when it's a person you know.
You did?
Because then you have to live with them for the rest of your life. Or see them at work every day.
That being said, I still love the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it still bugs me a little bit to this day that
I totally
that
agree.
moment was taken from me.
Same thing happened to me, brother. I feel you. I hate it too. So, John.
Anyway, John,
start us
sorry.
off.
I don't even know where I'm at anymore.
You
guys
were at
are
the
all-
beginning.
Start
pretty
from the
much.
beginning of the movie. What happens?
So you start off with a birthday party, I believe it is.
At a
And-
restaurant, yeah.
Yeah, at a restaurant, and then it's 2 girls and a dad, and then some outcast. You find out she's an outcast.
Anya Taylor-Joy, yeah.
Yes.
Great actress, by the way,
And
I think.
from there,
in the New Mutants movie.
her ride isn't going to be able to pick her up. So the dad of I guess you can say the popular kids in the movie, offered the ride. So the girls get in the car, the dad's putting everything away in the trunk, and you can see in the background kind of just tidbits that he's getting mugged is what you would assume it is he's getting mugged.
The dad, you could see that he gets approached. You don't know who it is.
No.
But it's told from like an outside perspective, and it's like the dad's like, "Oh, hey, how can I help you?"
You see
He's
it-
actually a pretty polite
And
guy.
again, those M. Night Shyamalan camera angles.
Yeah. He uses them so well to keep the mystery alive.
He uses sound very well too in a lot of his
Yes.
movies. I should mention, and this movie is no exception.
I would love to hear your examples on that later.
And-
Keep that in mind, please, if you can.
Let me just say this: I didn't know about the girl, like her past. But
Not supposed to.
Let me say this: nobody spoiled it for me, but I picked it up right away.
Oh, really?
I thought it was very predictable.
Really?
Yeah,
Like exactly what happens to her?
Like the second they got into the cellar, and you can tell she was handling it well than the other 2 girls. Right away, my mind was like she was a victim.
Okay, well, yeah.
Like 100%, and that was before they showed anything.
I just took that as they're the preppy, popular kids. They're very like sheltered. They're very self-contained. They don't
She's
really
down
know.
to earth, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. She's
yeah,
a bit more
but when you're in a
grounded.
For what
situation, when
reason,
you're in
though?
a basement, you were just
That's
fucking
true. That
drugged.
is an extreme
and
situation.
she watched the 2 other ones get drugged first before anything. She was too calm. Like, you're not that calm unless you've been through a situation like that before.
Sure.
And so I kind of already told myself she was a victim. But going back,
I mean, you know something's up with her. I'll give you that.
I knew that happened. I even
Okay.
told myself she got touched. So
That's awful.
it was, but it's what happened.
No, that is the reality of the movie.
I
You're
feel
right.
like one of the big strengths
you
of
will.
this movie, even though I enjoyed the plot very much, James McAvoy's performance
Was amazing.
is
Outstanding.
incredible.
Great.
Yeah.
He deserves every
Great.
bit of praise he gets for that movie.
Great.
He's good in everything I've seen him in. I mean, maybe what was his breakout role with Angelina
Wanted?
Jolie?
Wanted,
Yeah, Wanted.
yeah.
That might have been a little bit of a stretch, but that's a breakout role.
Chris Pratt was in there as a dick.
I totally forgot about
Yeah.
that.
He gets
I don't
punched in the
remember him in
face.
that movie
He
at
was
all.
was he fat?
He was chubby. He was
Was
chubby
he
Pratt.
Parks
Fat
and Rec?
Pratt.
He
I don't
might have
think
been a
he
little
was-
bigger than that. He was probably OC Chris Pratt.
He was like bored. I don't know. I think he was starting to slim down. He was like for buff. He was like that fat buff kind of a thing.
It was definitely before Parks and Rec, though. That movie.
Probably. Oh,
It
no.
definitely was.
Anyway,
Anyway,
so you see the dad get mugged. Basically, is what you're kind of thinking is
probably
happening.
more than that. though,
Yeah. Well, you find out he survived.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
You
that.
find out in the news that he got drugged and he woke up in a park.
Oh, okay. I don't
Oh,
remember
okay.
that
I
at
don't
all.
remember that either.
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah,
noticing.
that happens.
Very observant, sir.
So James McAvoy, what's the character's name?
Ken Wendell
I don't-
Crumb. You find out later.
Yes, Kenny?
Kevin Wendell Crumb.
Kevin. Yeah, so I'm just going to say Kevin.
But that is not mentioned till way later.
oh,
Because
that-
he's got multiple
multiple-
names, multiple
Yeah.
personalities.
We'll just say the villain
Yeah.
or James McAvoy's character.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say James' character.
Sure.
So James gets into the car. The 2
The
girls
villain.
in the back don't realize it, and he drugs them with like a spray.
That scene is weird for me, man.
Yeah, the way like how calm he was when he just
Yeah.
walks in.
Because you could tell he's done this before. This is just this is just another
Yep.
belt on his notch on his belt.
And then
sorry.
he puts the mask on. The girls are kind of like, "What the fuck's going on?" And he sprays them.
The weird part for me is that he doesn't even bother with the other girl in the passenger
Well, you know
seat.
why, right?
No, with Anya Taylor-Joy.
You
Why
don't know why?
doesn't he take the?
'Cause
Why does he take his time?
She wasn't chosen. She was just kind of a
But
stowaway.
he, I don't
Well, he
think-
doesn't
but
know
he didn't
that.
realize that till the end.
Yeah.
He did.
No, he didn't.
At the end, he noticed
He
it.
actually says he only was stalking the 2 girls because they were pure.
I'm pretty sure they said 3.
No.
He'd been stalking those 3 girls.
he said
for
2. because
for
those two girls are friends.
Okay.
They're pure.
Oh, so she happened to be there.
Because her ride wasn't able to pick her up.
She was a victim of circumstance, or
she was
guilty by
just
association.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he does say that because that just popped out in my head. He said we followed these two girls for days.
Good observant. I thought they said 3 or 4.
No. He said 2. So
okay.
She
Very
was
good,
just
good observation. Thank you.
She was in
Thank
the
you.
wrong place at the wrong time.
I appreciate that
because her ride broke down.
Yeah.
They were still willing to take advantage of her, though.
Oh well,
like,
yeah.
Like if worst came to worst, they assumed the same about her.
Well, same thing with the old lady who ends up showing up. Like there were just more sacrifices.
We'll get into that later.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
It was just more sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Continue
more
though.
food.
Yeah.
More
yeah,
food.
You're right. More food. Yeah. Go on.
Oh yeah. So he sprays the two. I felt like this scene was kind of dumb, that she was kind of sitting there in shock, but she was still wondering if I should open the door. But then I slowly opened the door.
But she's like 17, 18 years old. I can't say I would react any better.
I mean, if you're thinking to run, fucking run.
You don't know if this guy has a gun. You don't know if this like.
And again, it's all happening at once. Like I can't say that again. You would think fight or flight. I think she was confused as to what to do. It all happened so fast. In reality, I would like to think I would run, but maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I would be too shocked. I think anyone could say that. It's kind of a scary situation.
I agree with you, and it is one of those things
Like
that when you're in this situation, you're scared.
Yeah.
But she already had running in her mind. She already had her hand on the knob.
I think maybe she was too afraid to do
it. And you know,
the
funny thing was the guy even took the time to put his mask on before he sprayed her. So she had more than enough time to bail.
Probably.
Because she opened the door, it beeps, and then he looks at her, he puts the mask on, then he sprays. That is more than enough time. I'm sorry, bro. You're already exposed. Fucking run.
I will say this. I would say maybe my theory was, again, I think that was a great observation, John. I believe you are the right one in this, in that he didn't think she was part of it at all.
No.
She just happened to
That's
be
why
there.
he didn't even attack her.
But my thought was, and again, I'm probably wrong for this. I just thought he realized that, you know what, she's obviously, I think he read her like a book, like no problem. He realized that, you know what, she's obviously damaged. She's not going to do anything. So I'm just going to take my time with this. I'm going to get these two, and eventually, if I need to, I'll work my way to her and knock her out as well. I just think he read her like a book and understood the situation entirely, and realized that she is kind of, she's a weak character. She's strong in her own way, but in this situation, she's weak. I just thought that added to his psychotic nature.
Yeah.
And again, I might be wrong, but that's what I interpreted.
But it was just great the way he did it.
Yeah.
Just him.
Super smooth.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. And then they wake up in a cellar, right? And, and then from there, he's about to rape a girl. That was going to happen, and
he tells her to dance. Well, you don't really get. I feel like they wake up eventually. All three girls wake up together in some cellar. You don't know where they are. They're just in a cellar, locked up,
some random ass cellar.
And again, one of James McAvoy's characters, the same one that kidnapped them, draws one girl out to go
Dennis.
Who knows? Yeah, his name's Dennis. He does. He draws her out of this room that they're all kept captive in to do something with. You assume maybe to rape. Who knows? And then, but right before that happens, the girl jumps to what's the actress's name again? Anya Taylor-Joy jumps to her, and then Anya Taylor-Joy says, to pee on yourself as a defense mechanism. If you pee on yourself, you're probably less
unless that's his thing,
desirable.
Then you're just egging them on.
I hope not, but that's probably.
I mean, it's a gamble I think I'd be willing to take.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 50-50 shot.
Yep.
Either this dude's a freak and he's into it, or he's going to be disgusted. Luckily, he was disgusted. She pees on herself. He wants something to do with her at that point. She's okay. Where does it go to from there?
Well, and it's not only that he's disgusted. Well, he's disgusted, but you find out later in the film that
he's a germaphobe, right?
So that really just did it for him.
Then you realize why he's germaphobe, which was kind of like sad.
It's crazy, because we'll talk about it a little bit further.
Start us off.
So they wake up, and she pees. He throws her back in, and then
is this when we're introduced to Patricia?
It's right after this scene.
Okay,
yes.
Right after this scene,
which is a great character by James McAvoy.
Yeah,
I love this character.
Well, Patricia doesn't show up just yet. I believe that's when he goes to the psychiatrist right after this. The psychiatrist.
I could have swore she got introduced in the cellar because then all of them are confused. They're like, "Wait, it's you, but it's not you."
But then he comes back, and because remember they're like listening through the door, and they hear two different voices. But then all of a sudden it's Patricia that comes in. But then to your surprise, it's the same person. But in a completely different outfit. Yes, exactly.
Different voice, different inflections, different everything.
Oh, completely. I mean, you go from an American person to a British woman who's very proper.
Yeah.
In Patricia. Very old-fashioned in the way she thinks, and she's very one of the girls, even though it's played by James McAvoy himself.
Again, he does such a good job with all these multiple roles.
I hate saying this about so many actors on this podcast, but James McAvoy is an extremely charismatic actor, especially in this movie.
God, he's so good.
Especially in this movie. Every character he plays is
every
amazing.
One.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, he's a woman in this movie with multiple characters. I think Patricia is the bigger of the female characters he plays, for sure. But I love Patricia in this movie. Patricia is a real woman in my mind.
Right.
Because of how James McAvoy played her.
Yeah.
But Peter, how would you describe that scene plays out with Patricia?
She's very motherly in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like she offers them food. She's a bit more of a caretaker. She's not really. It seems like each one of these personas kind of play a particular role in what they're trying to do. And this is kind of her role, is to kind of the previous character is the one that takes them, that kidnaps them, and then this character is kind of the one that just kind of
the caretaker.
Yes, exactly.
But the thing is, for me, is like, apparently they are all of one mind for one big reason. And maybe this is jumping ahead just a little bit, but even though they all have their own personalities, they're all in on the one thing, which is keeping these girls here.
Yep.
Which is keeping these girls trapped.
Well,
which is
three of the personalities.
Right, yes. 3 of them at least. But I would just say that the dominant ones are about keeping the girls contained.
Yes.
Which is kind of scary, because it's like, even though they are of different personalities, and they are for the most part very different people within themselves, they all have the same goal in mind. Even James McAvoy's character, which is a young boy, how old was he supposed to be? Did they say
8, 7? I don't know.
9.
I don't remember.
That was the number I was looking at.
9.
Around 8 or so.
No, he's 9.
Okay, yeah. So 9 years old. He has the goal in mind of keeping them, put.
Right.
Which is like, so they are all definitely psychotic and violent in their own way, yet very different at the same time.
They flesh it out later on what's going on with all these different personas and how why some of them are working together.
Yes.
So
they have their own
agenda.
Agenda, and some of them collide with one another, and some of them completely are opposite.
Yeah,
I would say. So from there, where would you say it goes, Peter? Again, the girls are locked up. Patricia comes in. She kind of not really comforts them. Oh, well, at least
she attempts
as far as
to
Patricia
comfort
goes.
them.
Yeah, Patricia thinks she's comforting them, but the girls obviously are completely freaked out.
Yeah, God, who wouldn't be?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like,
this
I would
whole
be scared to
situation
death.
is already confusing as it is. This
Yeah.
adds a whole nother layer to that. So, is it? I forget when we get. Is it after this scene that we get introduced to the psychiatrist?
Yeah, I would say a little after Patricia comes into play. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I honestly don't remember what the Patricia scene.
Well, the thing is,
Patricia ends up saying that Dennis is not going to hurt you anymore.
Yes, she told him not to do
We have to
that.
keep you guys basically nice and good for the beast. She doesn't say the beast at that point, but she says he's no longer going to hurt you. He knows he did his job, and he can't really do anything else besides that.
Right. Yes, and he kind of like she tries to relate with the girls, like, yeah, you're safe with me. You're okay. Wink, wink. I'll take care of you. But then you realize there's more to it, like you said, John. And then from there, we do go into the psychiatrist. The reason why the psychiatrist even comes into play is because one of James McAvoy's characters contacts her via email saying, I need to meet you urgently.
Yeah.
And sends like at least one or multiple emails.
Well, you find out throughout the movie this happens a lot.
Yes.
But he sends an email saying it's urgent
from someone named Barry, which ends up being one of James McAvoy's personalities.
I believe it's the main.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the main.
For like 10 years, I think.
The reason why I didn't realize that, but good observation.
Yeah.
Once again.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the reason why he's considered the quote-unquote main is that he is also considered the one who's quote-unquote in the light, meaning that is the main personality that takes over the multiple personalities of the host, you would say. Yes. Yeah. And so, yes, Barry shows up, or you think is Barry, shows up at the psychiatrist's office, and Peter, what happens?
So the psychiatrist, I believe it's this scene, it might be one of the later ones, we kind of get introduced to this idea that all of these different personalities and even other people around the world that experience this type of disorder, this multiple personality disorder, each of these personalities each have different attributes to them, not just
biologically,
not just in their personality, but yes, biologically,
which
physically.
Is the crazy part that I love.
Yeah,
I love that part.
So she brings up an example of how another patient, one of their personalities is a bodybuilder, and although his physical body shouldn't be capable of lifting as much as he can, it does when he's in this bodybuilder persona.
She says, like, the Russian bodybuilder within a body that has high blood pressure is able to all of a sudden lift 300 pounds over its own body weight.
Yes, exactly.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, so we're introduced to this idea that they actually change physically too.
Yeah.
There's another example about how some of these personalities have eye problems. They need glasses. Some of the personalities don't. Diabetes, sicknesses, illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so
what's another one? Not paranoia, but anxiety.
Or anxiety,
such like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, different personalities have different ailments of sorts, or just all together different biologies.
Right. And so the psychiatrist sees that what's his name, Barry?
Yeah.
Yes. He's
James McAvoy's supposed the character that is in the light.
Here's the thing: is I actually think the first visit is actually Barry.
I 100%. Hold on. I agree with you. I thought I did. But if you notice, the second visit, what did she say that turned her onto it not being Barry?
What did she say? The neat freak thing, right?
The chocolate. And what does Barry do in the first visit? He's touching the Lindt truffles, arranging them.
That's
from the
right.
very first visit.
Oh.
From the very first visit. So it was Dennis, I think, all along.
Right.
That's just my thought. That's my theory.
I can't disagree with you.
But I do agree. I wanted it to be Barry from the first time because I love Barry as a character. I think the thing is, you never really get to know Barry very much.
Yeah.
Because it's actually the personality of Dennis all along,
who is probably
trying to be Barry to I guess what's the word I'm looking for? I guess pretend to be him.
Yeah.
For lack of better terms.
Right.
But Dennis seems to be the main personality in this movie
because he's taking over that role.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't he the one that kind of pushed the idea of the Beast in the first place? It's kind of his plan.
It's him and
Patricia
right. Together. But I feel like Dennis is the one who's able to summon the Beast.
That's probably not a bad observation, actually.
Because every time they have to go to Dennis, and then Dennis turns into the Beast.
That's a good point.
That is a good point.
However, no. Yeah, you were right. I was going to make a point, but that point is invalid. Never mind.
Cool. Yeah, you're invalid.
Keep going. Damn. Why on this podcast, AJ? That's right. Go fuck myself. This podcast got very dark real
Thank
quick.
you, AJ. Fighting my own battles with yourself.
I know, right?
Almost as though you have multiple personalities.
Call me Kevin Mitchell Crumb or whatever the fuck. Wendell Crumb, whatever his name is.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay,
let's go with that.
So that happens.
Yes.
The visit happens, and she's already...
She's skeptical as to who is actually in the light, quote unquote, and not.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like Peter said, she talks to somebody else in the field about how
it's like a TED talk of sorts. Like she's part of a conference,
right?
Within what's the term called? It's an act. It's like initials like PDP or
I don't remember.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they say it something like that. Mm. Yeah.
Oh, DID.
DID sounds right.
Sounds
DPD.
about right.
Something like that.
So
either way, go ahead.
And then what happens after that? There's some drama that the girls try to escape and they get caught.
And one of them gets separated from the rest, I think.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
At first, she's the first one.
Yeah.
DID, yes.
Damn, I was good.
Dissociative identity disorder. Yes.
There we go.
DID. Dissociative identity disorder.
Cool.
Anyway.
So yeah, we go back to the cellar where they're being kept, and I forget how it happens, but one of the girls does get separated.
Well, what happens is the 9-year-old...
they try to escape?
Dorwid? Widward? Something like that. he's taking over and he's watching them, and they're a little freaked out because he's just sitting.
Oh, there. Hedwig, the little boy version of
Hedwig.
James McAvoy's character. Yeah, the 9-year-old boy.
So he ends up saying something specifically, and I believe it's him. But he says something like, "We found a place to live, and we had to do it without people knowing." And that's when she figured out that they built it, so it's all on drywall. So they try to find the weak point because there must be an exit.
Yes.
So then one girl finds the weak point.
That's right.
Yeah, she escapes, and at this
For a moment.
at this point, the 9-year-old turns back into Dennis, like the scary one, and she runs, and he chases after her.
Hold on, I got to talk about this part though. It's a small part, but it's pretty impactful because they trick this 9-year-old personality into telling them the truth. And then they push him out of the room. And then when he tries to break back into the room, he's a 9-year-old personality. And so he has the physicality of a 9-year-old against 3 teenage women who are pushing back against the door. And the 9-year-old can't get through. He's pushing through as hard as he can. All of a sudden, like you said, John, he turns into Dennis all of a sudden, and he pushes him away like it's no problem
like
at all.
No big deal, yeah.
Well, I love that part. And again, it goes into what the psychiatrist of James McAvoy's main character is saying in that they have different physicalities per personality.
Yep.
And that he's an average, if not stronger than average man, slightly so, able to push aside teenage girls when a 9-year-old probably couldn't do the same.
Most definitely wouldn't be able to,
Yeah. Go on, John. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I had to make that point. I love that scene.
To 9-year-old.
It's a great point. Yeah, so she runs off. She hides in a locker. He finds her, and then he separates her. So that happens. It's a nice little tense scene. But I don't feel like it's anything special.
Especially because we don't really, at this point, we already know who the main character is at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
I kind of don't really didn't feel any connection to the other characters.
All, yeah.
It was tense for sure, but in the end, I'm just like, who cares?
And then from there, I believe it goes back into another scene with the psychiatrist, right?
We go back to the psychiatrist a few times,
and then that's when you you find out that she's been getting multiple emails from his other personalities,
like every minute almost.
Well, it's I think like every night.
Yeah,
because the 9-year-old himself says whenever he falls asleep, somebody emails the psychiatrist, and Dennis has to go and clean up shop. So
which is why I think Dennis is the one that actually shows up there
to
try to clean up after the mess that
mess.
The other personalities are making. Like Barry is probably trying to get through, but Dennis isn't quite allowing it to happen.
Yep.
Because he's like, wait, shut the fuck up. Let me clear this out now.
Yeah.
To make sure that we cover up the tracks. And yet Dennis is a good liar, but not good enough.
Yeah,
because you start to see that he's not covering his tracks quite as well. He's a good faker, but he's not that good.
Yeah, and she, at this point, the psychiatrist knows it's Dennis. Like, she calls him out, saying, "You're Dennis.
And
I've never met you before."
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And he denies it the entire time. And then you're watching... she ends up going back and watching security video of him leaving because he denies he's Dennis. And she's actually watching the video, and he walks through the trash instead of around it. And then the guy who's with her actually says himself, he walked through, it's not a big deal. And she herself says a normal person would walk around the trash. Mm-hmm. So she knows he's just fucking full of shit.
He's trying to throw her off.
Yes, because Dennis is a neat freak. He wouldn't walk around. He wouldn't walk through the trash.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just adds to the psychosis of everything and him trying to be a good liar, but not ultimately pulling it off.
He's trying too hard.
Yes, exactly. And she notices that. She's a smart woman. Very smart woman. Highly educated. Let me ask you guys this. Just a quick departure from what we're doing. Did you guys spot the Shyamalan in both movies?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Right away. 100%
I remember the Split one, but I don't remember the Unbreakable. And I told myself
I'm reversed.
to remember the Unbreakable. But spot the Shyamalan. It's a new game of this podcast. Where did you spot the Shyamalan?
So in Unbreakable,
he
was the
guy he accused of having
drugs on him at the stadium,
and he fills them.
Yes. Thank you. That was him.
Yes, 100%.
He's like, "Are we okay now?" or whatever.
I hope you find the guy.
Yeah. I hope. But he was the one that had drugs, right?
He did have drugs on him
right after he.
But he went in the wrong pocket.
I think
he did.
I think
like
okay,
he gave
so
up too easily.
One right after we.
Sorry, we'll get back into Split in a moment.
Sorry,
but
yeah,
spot the Shyamalan.
Spot the Shyamalan. We need to give it context. So Bruce Willis bumps into him at the stadium. He sees that he has drugs on him, and then I thought we saw him go into a bathroom right after.
He does, and he pulls the drugs from a trash can.
I assumed he like ditched them from a trash can or something.
Well, I think he just checked the wrong pockets.
I think because he only checked like his jacket pockets
He didn't go into,
and
like,
no
his
other
pants or
pockets.
anything.
I guess.
He didn't,
And
he didn't make
then-
him take off his pants.
and
or
then
anything.
right
He didn't wanna
after-
get sued, like racial profiling
I guess
or
so,
something.
right.
Yeah, right at like
point, I guess,
right
kinda.
after he searches him, he like walks away from him. He gets a phone call, and then he kind of turns around, and you can see that
He still senses something.
He's Shyamalan's actually looking at him, and he turns away. So
okay.
he was doing something.
He was packing. Okay. And then how about for a split? Spot the Shyamalan. Where was he?
I missed him.
He was
I
the
don't know.
security guard.
He was
watching the security
He let
footage.
the psychiatrist go through the footage. That was
yeah.
him. He actually had kind of one awkward part in that scene, a little bit. We don't have to go into it. It's insignificant. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, so she says a normal person would...
Spot the Shyamalan, a good segment.
the normal
Recurring
person...
For sure.
Let's do it.
Yep.
Glasses
For
next
sure.
week.
Oh, I can't wait to spot the Shyamalan for Glass.
That would be dope.
We got to do more Shyamalan episodes eventually down the road. Which movie should we do next? At STGeekPod, Instagram, and Twitter. Go on, Pete. John.
The Last Airbender.
Oh, please.
God.
He's got to be part of the Fire Nation, right?
I'm going to keep on going from there. So,
Walking
she
right
says-
past
yeah.
that racial slur.
a normal person would walk
No
around
hate.
from there. And then we go back to the scene where they're back in the cellar. And he comes in like a monk. Dennis, do you notice that? He said, we're going to have a proper dinner. So then they actually go to the kitchen, and then the other girl is like, I'm going to get the fuck out. And she hits Dennis with a chair.
No, it was Patricia.
It was Patricia who was cooking.
It was
and-
Yeah,
Patricia.
she was making them
It was
like
Patricia.
PB&Js or
She
whatever.
was super proper
Yeah.
about it and everything. Yeah, it was definitely Patricia.
Yeah, she hits Patricia with the chair, and then she tries to bail. And then you find out there's nowhere for her to go.
Yeah. The doors are locked anywhere around that place, yeah.
Yep.
And Patricia finds her really quickly and locks her up. And at this point, we've been kind of brushing through it really quick, but the main actress, I forgot her name.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, throughout the movie, we're seeing flashbacks to when her uncle basically touched her.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
Throughout
first
the
few
whole-
times, it's kind of just set up, but eventually we do get to the point where
It's obvious.
yeah, he molested.
He
her.
was a bad man. Yeah.
Yeah.
It shows her as like a 5-year-old, maybe probably even younger. Yeah. It's pretty
Yeah.
bad.
They're playing animals.
Oh, God.
It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
that
it
scene.
was
very
Yeah,
well done.
I was
but
not
very
comfortable
sad.
with that scene.
God,
I
I
was
love we'll get into it later,
it's
but I
kinda
love the
gross.
part later on where
Oh yeah.
yeah, okay.
So that happens, and do we go back to the psychiatrist at that point?
I guess so.
I think
yeah,
there's 3 visits, maybe 4.
So this must
There are about
this
3.
this is the third visit because this is when Dennis
He outs himself.
Oh,
she
yeah.
strokes his ego. Without a doubt, she's just like, "You're so great,"
And
yada,
all of a sudden
yada.
he feels comfortable enough to come out. Now that his ego has been fulfilled,
It's
he's
been
like,
nice
you know
and
what? Yeah,
stroked,
why
yeah.
not?
Yeah. So then that happens.
He
and
introduces himself to
he
her.
admits to it, and he lies to her, right? Because she actually starts bringing up the beast and saying, you guys are talking about the beast, and it must be real. It must be fake, is what she's saying. It's not real. There isn't a 24th identity or personality. And she asks him directly, I believe, right, if the beast is real or if he's seen the beast, and he said no.
None of them had at that point, I thought. No?
Well, he lies.
Oh, okay.
He lied to her. And
Okay.
then you find out later in the movie.
Well, they do actually know of him. I think even Hedwig knew of
They
of
all
the
know.
beast,
Yeah,
for sure.
I think they all know
that
about
he's
it.
coming anyway.
I thought at this point anyway, because I thought the whole point of the movie was to summon the beast.
Yeah, they had not summoned him
they
yet
know
until
of
that
him,
point.
but he doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, like he hasn't come to light yet.
Exactly.
Yes,
That
because
was my vibe because they had to
Yeah.
sacrifice for him to be summoned to
Exactly.
well, they actually bring up earlier in the movie that he's done worse or he's done bad to other people. So
Oh,
they
I didn't
have
realize
they
that.
have seen him because they do. I don't remember what personality it is, but he says it to the girls when they first get there. So it must be Dennis that I've seen him do bad things to people, and he's gonna do bad things to you.
That sounds about right. Yeah,
So they've seen him.
in which the beast definitely does do.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
so-
sure.
That definitely happens.
Okay.
All right. So then moving on to jump ahead a little bit, where does the story go from there, John?
I'm a little lost.
Okay, well, essentially, okay.
This must have been when I was looking at my phone.
Dennis outs himself to the psychiatrist, and then we'll just jump ahead a little bit. The psychiatrist actually comes over because she receives again a bunch of emails,
this time
like twice a minute for about 20 minutes straight or so, and she realizes, oh yeah, something is really going on. The thing is, as you guys talked about earlier, she gets frequent emails sporadically from these people, from these personalities.
Fun fact.
And then, go ahead.
The amount of emails she gets this last time is the number of personalities that are against the beast. So it's actually, I think, like 21 or 20.
And you start to realize that in the vlogs that they have with each other. I kind of like it. Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, 100% a push.
Oh.
Fiction.
I honestly thought you were going to say 69. I was going to be like 69.
At John Zepp, JOHNZ3PE, #fiction.
That's too much. Just Peachy Chav.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So
this boy's fiction.
She follows
But
him.
yeah,
Or no, she doesn't follow
she ends
him.
up going to his house, to their house, to see what the fuck is going on, because she's never really experienced that frequent of emails from them before. So she goes there to realize something is definitely amiss. And what would you say happens from there, Peter?
I feel like I talked... Wait, what part are we at?
Okay,
Sorry.
The psychiatrist is finally going to the home. Finally going to actually the home of Kendall Wendell Crumb.
What does happen next?
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay.
She talks to him. She talks to him more. They talk a little bit more, and she believes he's more full of shit.
But it's Dennis and her talking.
Yeah, and Dennis actually admits that he's seen the beast. He said, "I lied to you."
How do I not remember this?
I have seen the beast. So she's kind of like, "Oh shit, maybe this is real." So she knows something's about to go down.
Oh, she knows definitely physically things are different.
Yeah, she's like, I agree with you. You know, this and that. You're great.
You can even tell she's scared.
And he's happy. He's like, so you do know how great we are. So she's like, okay, so we're going to have a meeting tomorrow and we're going to talk about it.
But first I got to use the bathroom.
Because, yeah, she wants... Well, that's not what happens. So she goes to the door and she shoves a napkin or a tissue in the door so it doesn't lock.
Right.
And then she says, I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Super smart girl.
Yeah.
Lady.
She says, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and she's she's nosy. So the bitch dies.
Well, the thing is, she opens one door before she gets to the bathroom, and it ends up being a closet to where she sees one of the girls being held captive. Like, pretty much.
Oh, yeah. And you can see how happy the girl was. She thought she was saved.
Yep. And yet...
The old lady, you can see her face.
That lady gets chloroformed really quick.
Yep.
It's really sad. Yeah. And she's chloroformed. She's totally knocked off kilter. She can't control herself when she eventually comes back into consciousness. And so she tries to. You see her struggling to write a note, but the camera doesn't let you know what it is because, again, M. Night Shyamalan is an awesome, I guess, cinematographer, you could say, or director for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what she's scribbling, but she's struggling to scribble down something on a piece of paper while she's struggling to have conscientiousness.
By the way, I knew what she was writing on the paper.
You knew what she was saying?
100%.
You knew the name?
I felt like this, not the name, but
knock him out of it?
I knew what she was going to put because of the foreshadowing. She did say, I can say your full name, but I know it brings pain to you.
Yes.
So it was obvious.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So that happens.
For someone who wasn't paying attention half the time, you have a very detailed recollection of this movie.
It was his first time watching it. I like that he knows.
Yeah.
I pay attention. What the fuck you trying to say, Peter?
You said it yourself. You were looking at your phone.
Well, I mean, I'm not staring at my phone for 12 hours. It's really quick glances.
Fair enough. Okay.
Just an observation on my part.
No, I appreciate the detail. This is the first time I've heard such detail from John on this podcast.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
Keep it up, bro. But I'm just saying.
I'm on the spot now. I don't know what to say.
Humana. Anyone else have two thumbs in this room? Anyway, so I do like that.
Yeah.
She gets chloroformed. She wakes up struggling to scribble something on a piece of paper. All of a sudden, Anya Taylor-Joy's character is brought into this, and she doesn't know what the fuck is going on. She sees her high school friend, well, kind of friends, dead in a closet somewhere. And then she sees some old lady who happens to be the psychiatrist dead on the floor also because she gets killed by the beast. She gets her body snapped in half essentially. Or her spine is snapped, you could say. And then she sees on a piece of paper scribbled on the table saying, Kendall. Oh, I'm sorry. What is it? What is the name? I forget.
I have no idea.
I'm sorry. It is Kevin Wendell Crumb.
Yes.
Kevin Wendell Crumb. Say his name. It says Kevin Wendell Crumb. And so she says it when all of a sudden James McAvoy's characters come into play again, and all of a sudden it kind of stifles the character for a moment, and Kevin Wendell Crumb starts to have the light again and comes to
By the way,
light.
I actually felt pretty sad for that character.
Oh yeah,
because he doesn't even know what year it is.
Yeah, he has no idea what the fuck is going on.
He thought his last memory was on a bus. Who knows how many years before?
What did he say? Like 2011 or
2016.
Something like that? Oh,
he said
2016 was the year it was made. I want to say it was earlier than that.
I think he said that, but you might be right.
Fair enough. Either way, it was like
because they never
years
actually
beforehand.
say what year this is taking off.
That's true.
True, but I know he says a specific year.
Yes.
He definitely does.
He himself says a specific year, and the girl just says no, and then he said, "Kill me."
Yeah, he says, "I have a shotgun and I have bullets in such and such area of my house. Load it. Kill me, please."
Mm-hmm. And then from right there, she's ready, and then just all the other personalities take over.
Again, yes. James McAvoy in this fucking movie, man.
All of a sudden, you see the dominant personalities take over him one by one, trying to convince her not to do it what she needs to do.
Yep.
And then eventually, the Beast again comes back, and this is where you realize that this psychosis is more than just a mental illness. It's definitely not. It's more than mental. It's a physical situation
yes.
to where he's able to withstand shotgun shots to the body.
Oh,
like he takes 2 shots from her and withstands them just fine. He stumbles for a moment, but then he regains his mobility and is able to attack her. He's able to bend steel bars.
That's a very creepy shot. It's
great. You see him biting into his own teeth.
Let's get into that.
Yeah,
so,
please go ahead.
So she ends up running.
Yes.
She's able to get away a bit, and she runs and she gets her shotgun with the bullets, and she ends up caging herself.
Yes.
And by the way, when she's in there, it's a great scene where
the flashback.
Not the flashback. The flashback's okay. It's cool, but when the Beast is on the ceiling and he's hitting the lights,
knocking the lights out. Yeah, so she can't shoot him or aim for him well.
And this is the only part that, at this point, I felt was unnecessary. When she's spending time with the dad, and the dad's like, when the prey's coming, you have to follow the barrel.
I kind of liked it. It shows that she knows how to shoot.
Yeah. But I thought you were going to see a little bit of that carry over into this point of the movie. Where it doesn't. You just kind of see her moving the gun, and she just kind of shoots.
She doesn't win. She definitely does not win.
No.
I'm just saying it felt like she was going to have more skills.
Yeah,
like she was going to be more calm and kind of... Yeah. Well, she was calmish.
I feel like throughout this entire situation, that's kind of the character that she is. She's a bit more calm and
than
collected.
Everybody else.
Sure, yeah.
But I thought her gun skills were going to be a bit better.
Sure. I thought they were just going to play more into the plot.
But even still, even if she was skilled, she wouldn't have killed him regardless.
No, not at all.
We've already seen him
and she does hit him twice, to be fair.
Yeah. But that was point blank. Like, that was right there.
True.
So, she's caged, and he actually gets to the cage, and this is the scene that AJ is talking about, and Peter, where he's bending the gate.
To get in,
and you can see the blood coming out of his gums because he's
grinding down his teeth so hard.
So hard. And she shoots him twice, and it does nothing to him.
Yeah, he falls down
falls
for a moment
over a bit, and he's in a bit of pain, but that's all you really see.
He ultimately recovers.
Yeah. And then
does it happen before the scene where we get the flashback as to how she pays off?
Yeah.
You didn't like that scene? I thought it was cool.
I think it was a cool scene.
The one where it takes place after we find out that the uncle diddled her. And
well, that's such a bad way to put it. Such a bad way to put it.
It's a terrible act.
I didn't think he actually did that.
Bleep him. Bleep this man.
That's so disturbing.
What do you mean you didn't think? It's
that's
pretty much.
I just thought
they don't say it outright, but they pretty much do.
I don't even want to say it out loud. I just thought he looked at her without her clothes off. That's all I thought.
I think it was more than
at
that.
The funeral it was a little bit.
And on top of that, as a little 5-year-old girl, she puts a shotgun at her uncle.
Which I like that scene.
Yeah,
I do like
that was intense.
It shows that she's steadfast.
That was another scene where I thought the kid was going to shoot.
Yeah, she knew right from wrong. Yeah, again, another parallel in these two movies.
I like that it shows, like you were just saying, that even as such a child, she's like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be doing this to me. And so she kind of already has an idea of right and wrong.
Family or not. you're fucking wrong for this.
Yeah.
And I should kill you, but she was a child. She knew not to. Her judgment told her otherwise in the end.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
This takes place in a flashback, by the way, in case you
Yes.
didn't mention it.
The movie goes back and forth in time.
That being said, the Beast notices that she has scars on her tummy.
Yes. Well, another small detail about that, I would say, is that I don't know if it's Dennis that says it, but I think it was Hedwig, the young 9-year-old character, says that, Dennis said this about you, that you wear too many shirts or a lot of shirts.
Yeah.
And it's because and I never understood why, but it's to cover up her scars. I thought maybe she was more of a reserved character.
They
more
definitely
reserved person.
feed the narrative to make you think that.
Yes, and then all of a sudden you realize, it's because she's so damaged. She kind of cut herself over the years. And,
I knew that.
to find some sort of solace. I didn't understand it until it showed it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's
so you
pretty
knew
rough.
she was molested, and you knew she cut herself?
No, I didn't know about the cut herself. But I mean,
just said you did.
When they actually showed it,
It made sense.
It was just.
Of course, it makes sense at that point. Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong about that, but yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like I said, some parts I thought was going to happen didn't happen. Like her being better with the gun.
Yeah,
I
sure.
thought that was going to happen.
That would have been cool, but maybe a little cliche.
So,
but
he ends up seeing that she's not pure
She's
like the other
not
two,
just
like
some
the other
whimsical
two,
girl.
like the two other
she's
girls.
Had her life struggles.
So he freaks out, but he's just kind of like, oh,
he respects her.
He's in awe.
Yeah,
he says rejoice.
He says something along the lines of "Only the pure shall repent" or something like that, or shall be
The
taken
broken are the ones who
shall remain, or
essentially the people that have been damaged in life are the ones that know what life truly is, and so therefore they're the worthy ones. And so since she has been damaged throughout her life, she knows what it is to, I guess, be a real person, at least in the Beast's eyes.
Yeah, and I feel like that whole idea stems from the damage that James McAvoy's character as a whole
he was abused as a child.
Went through as a child. Yeah. Yes. So this whole idea of the damaged people being the ones to survive kind of stems from that. And really, it's how all of the personalities come about in the first place, is through all this mental damage and physical damage that he went through.
It's really sad. Like, what is it that his mother is mad at him about?
Circle. Wait, what?
Okay, so there's a flashback. Again, this movie does jump around from present day to past and back and forth.
It's a lot easier.
Done very well, though.
It's a lot easier to follow in
well.
the movie. I feel like we're kind of making it a lot more confusing than it was.
It's okay. I'm just saying. Again, as we said, Kevin Wendell Crumb is a character that is ultimately damaged mentally, emotionally, physically, so to speak. What is it the mother's mad about?
She's just
fucked up. Flashback where she says like
you made a
something.
mess. She said you made a mess, and she's trying. He's hiding under the bed, and she's hitting him with like a hanger.
Wire hanger.
Yeah.
And
welcome to the club.
It goes to show like that why the personality of Dennis is such a neat freak, because he's afraid of messes because of the way his mother treated him as a child.
Yep.
It's kind of scary to think, but I guess that's that character's reality.
Yep.
Anyway, so the Beast tries to pry open these bars to get to her, and then he realizes that, oh my god, like, she is not just some teenage girl that has everything she ever wanted. She's a damaged person. She knows what it is like to be hurt and to be real. She's worthy. She's to be rejoiced, and ultimately leaves her unharmed.
Leaves her be, and he just kind of scurries about in the neighborhood. Yep.
Yes. And it's kind of freaky that, and she slowly realizes, oh my god, this guy is actually not going to hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though she's pinned against a wall.
Right.
Like, she cages herself in, as you guys said earlier, just to get away from this guy. And thank God he realizes that in a way she's kind of just like him, and that she had a rough upbringing, so on and so forth. Anyway, the movie ends with the Beast, or James McAvoy's characters, finding some sort of refuge within, like, I guess, what would you call that?
It just looks like an
apartment?
abandoned apartment building or something. Yeah.
And then he realizes that the shotgun didn't do shit to him.
Yeah, like, he's already healing.
And he's like, look, now we know how great we are.
Mm-hmm.
And all the personalities, or some of the dominant personalities, come out and are, like, excited about it. The 9-year-old's like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like, we are actually stronger. We're as strong as we thought we were.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of scary to think. And then, right before the credits roll, Peter, how would you describe that?
Right before the credits? Well,
yeah, there's like a news report.
Well, right before we get to that,
go ahead.
which is the very end of the movie, is the moment you're talking about, we learn that this whole movie has been taking place underneath a zoo.
Which is so weird. But
Which I think that plays into the whole beast persona thing.
Okay.
Well, they actually say it on the news channel that they believe this persona took after all of the animals.
Exactly.
They
Yes,
actually
yes.
say it.
Yeah.
So it is crazy that is probably where he got a lot of these traits from, just from watching the animals.
Yeah.
Because he's worked there for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a manager or something like that.
Yeah.
He was something like that, yeah. He worked there.
A
He
caretaker,
did something.
whatever. Yeah. I think it was more Barry, the personality. Barry was the manager of the quote-unquote horde, which is what the villain is known as by the end of the movie.
Right.
Which is a
Forgot
kind of
about that.
interesting name, really.
Makes
I like
sense.
that name a lot.
Yeah.
But okay,
Especially
so-
with the multiple beast personalities kind of in the
Infused
zoo,
Well, they-
culminating into this one persona.
And they forecasted,
Agreed.
or not forecasted. They,
fair enough.
they foreshadow it
Yeah.
a little bit
You
earlier.
do. It's one of those like, oh, okay, all this makes sense now kind of a
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, because they should there's a scene where the girl is going through his computer and you see all the different personalities, and
They all have vlogs.
The really smart one actually talks about the horde,
Yes.
and
I believe that was Barry.
It
and
was
one
not.
female character that was not Patricia also talked about the horde slightly, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
oh,
Yes.
you're actually right. Yeah, some of the
It was an
personalities-
American girl, not a
Yeah.
British girl like Patricia.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, Peter.
So yeah, so at the very end we're in a diner and we see a news report going over what happened, which is when they mentioned the horde thing or the beast
horde
persona.
escapes.
Yeah. And the camera starts panning over, and you still hear the news report going on, and the camera starts panning over some of the people in the diner,
you could say.
and they start talking about what's on the news, and then one of them says something to the effect of, wasn't there something similar that happened a few years ago? There was a
17.
person,
All these people getting weird names. Like, what was that guy back in the day called?
and then all of a sudden we see Bruce Willis as David Dunn say Mr. Glass.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Which would have been a great reveal had it not been spoiled for us.
Thank you. Yes, they don't allude. They don't.
I would have lost my mind.
Yeah, I would have lost my.
But it got
fucking
spoiled
shit.
for us.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, I cannot say better things about both of these movies. Well, I do want to say, both movies are great. I think Unbreakable is I think both of them are original. Unbreakable is the
Better
predecessor to both of them, obviously, or to Split. And I will say it's the more original take. Though and even though I love Unbreakable, it ages actually pretty darn well in my opinion. I think some slight special effects, very slight special effects, not even CGI. I don't think there's any CGI in that movie.
In Unbreakable?
Yeah, I think it's very much
Correct.
practical effects. I'm not even saying that ages badly. I'm saying maybe some of the camera work ages just a little tiny bit.
I feel like some of the
storytelling
aspects
Yes.
kind of aged a bit. Yeah.
Just a very, but I think that's more nitpicking than anything. I think
Of course.
overall that movie is a solid A for sure.
Yep.
And I would say buy that movie any day of the week.
You
and I
kinda
would
have
say,
to-
but what Split does more than Unbreakable. Please continue after I'm done.
Sure.
What Split does better than Unbreakable is that it has a modern cinematography to back it up. The coloring is great. The way it's shot is beautiful. Even though we talk praises about how the way Unbreakable is shot, ultimately I think Split is just a great modern movie, which Unbreakable to some degree is not. It's a great story.
Sure.
Great story, great characters, great actors and everything, but it has I think it's 1.5% aged, 99 or 98.5% perfect. Or not perfect, but great movie.
Okay.
What do you think, John? Between the two, Split and Unbreakable. Okay.
100%. Let's hear your thoughts on Split 17 years from now.
Sure.
Will
it last last the ages?
I think you would be more hard on Split than you would be on Unbreakable.
Probably so. Peter, what do you think? You were going to say something. I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Fuck! What the hell was I gonna say? This again. Oh god. me being
Unbreakable,
derailed.
Split.
Unbreakable. It was.
What do you think about
it was
both?
mostly about. Oh, that was gonna say. So the thing about Unbreakable that I think makes it age a bit, especially when you compare it to comic books, movies of the modern era, is that it's very personal. It's very closed off,
which is why I love it.
No. I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing, but it's just different. You have to buy into this. That into this premise that you're following this one character. It's this one character's journey. I mean, you get a sum of glass, but that character is mostly there to complement Bruce Willis's character, to give it more backstory and whatnot. Again, AJ?
I really gotta go. It's so bad.
And so you just have to buy into that. Like, it's... I'm sorry. Sorry. Just the pitter-patter of AJ's... I hope that picked up on the mic.
I mean, dude. I hope you get this. Like, dun.
Anyway, that was pretty much it. You kind of have to buy... You have to remind yourself that this is a very closed-off narrative. And because I feel like that's the thing that ages about it mostly. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it definitely feels like a late 90s movie because of that.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. 100%. So, which one do you think is the better movie from the two?
Honestly, I would say Split.
Wow, nice, okay.
I like Unbreakable.
I respect that.
And it might be... See, here's the thing. They're both good movies, and I enjoy them very much. But I think Split does a better... See, I think that our opinions differ because I didn't really... I didn't think much of this movie going into it when I saw it. I think I saw it week 2, week 3, and I was like, I've heard it's good. I'll check it out. This was still... M. Night Shyamalan at this point was still earning back my trust. I was like, okay, he did Devil. That was a good one.
For real, though.
And I think there's another one somewhere that I haven't seen yet, but I've heard is good. And so I was like, okay, he's making a comeback. I hear this one's good. I'll give it a chance. So I had very low to medium expectations about it. And so because it was so good, it really
What, reignited your passion towards his films?
Not only that, but I was just like, it really made me feel like maybe I'm giving this movie too much credit, I think is what I'm trying to say, because my expectations were a little bit low. That's not to say I didn't like it.
I think it's a sincerely good movie.
No, I do too.
I could care less if M. Night Shyamalan made it, personally.
Sure.
I think it's good for him, great for him as a creator. But ultimately, I just think it's a good movie.
I think the main difference between the two is that Split has more tension. It's very much similar movies in the sense that they're
very different.
They're not very action oriented.
They're different genres, I think.
They're not very action oriented, though. I do agree.
Well, that's
with
what
that.
I mean. They're not. Neither one of them is.
You get the payoff at the end of both of them.
Exactly. So they're not very action oriented. There's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of exposition. But the one thing that Unbreakable doesn't have is tension. Maybe that's not a fair comparison to make, but I feel like it makes Split more interesting. It draws you in a bit more.
I'll say this. I think when we were talking about Unbreakable, we had more better things to say about the entire cast. But when we talk about Split, we're only talking about how great James is.
I was going to say, for this matter, though, James McAvoy takes up like 3/4 of the cast, though, in and of himself as an actor.
But even the tidbits you get of the son from Bruce Willis and the wife, and even when Mr. Glass is born, like we praise the doctor who was only in the scene for fucking 3 minutes of the movie.
Sure.
How great he was.
Sure.
The 3 girls in the movie weren't that great in Split. I'm sorry.
I thought they were pretty
good.
I thought they were pretty good. I think both movies do a good job of making you care about every character in each movie.
I think
because it's a small cast per movie.
The girls in Split,
my opinion,
particularly the ones that aren't the main character, fill their role very well.
I think they're realistic.
Exactly. They're very believable in the role that they're supposed to play.
If I were a high school girl, I would be scared shit.
Exactly.
There would be one girl wanting to be tough and strong about it. There would be one girl that's scared shitless and just wants to go with the best idea. And there might be one girl that either does that or gives up all hope and just goes with the flow.
Yeah.
Which is what each of those girls do in this movie. So
I feel
what you're saying, John, but I think I might disagree a little bit.
I think they fit well in the movie. I think they're good. They're well placed in the movie without a doubt. But I definitely think each individual scene of Unbreakable is a little bit more powerful.
Okay, I respect that.
With all of the actors, not just the one.
Like every scene counts.
Yes, we talked about how great.
I would see most scenes count in Split though too.
We talked about how great it was when the kid held the gun to...
That is true. That is a huge part.
And then we talked about how Mr. Glass, when he was selling the comic cover to the guy alone.
That's just getting to know him as a person,
when he was
too.
born, when he went to go and pick up the comic book. I think the entire movie of Unbreakable is just 100% solid, including the cast.
That is true. I will say this. Kendall Wendell Crumb, you get a brief idea of what his childhood was like, which is ultimately abusive, but you don't really feel for him outside of that. And it's very quick, too, so you feel bad for him. Any kid that's physically abused or whatever is, awful. I feel bad for them ultimately, and that should never happen. But it's so brief, you're not really given much of a chance to really absorb what happened in this character and why all of a sudden he has 23 personalities to go with it. You know, it's ultimately kind of ununderstandable. If that's an okay word to go? It's incomprehensible, if you will.
Yeah,
incomprehensible.
These movies, having seen them back to back recently for this,
I think all three of us did that back to back. Yeah.
It's very
good way to do it, though.
It's very hard to compare the two because although they are similar, they also are very different,
and they're also 16 years apart.
Yeah.
Yes,
as far as like modern day cinematography
they're different
goes,
genres of superhero movies. I think one is more tense, and then the
One's
one is
more
just more
suspense.
storytelling than anything else. Like
one great thing I love about both is that they both definitely exist without one another easily.
Yeah,
like they didn't have to be connected, and the fact that they are makes it that much better to me. And I don't know about better, but it makes it more exciting because now we do have a movie to review next week, which is Glass, and I'm excited for that. But okay, let me ask you this: we talked about the movie enough.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the trailers of Glass? What happened? What makes it so that way the Horde, a.k.a. James McAvoy's character, ends up in therapy? Do you think he gives himself up? Because he's free by the end of Split.
Yeah.
So what happens? What gets him in that situation?
I think
is he overcome by force? Because I don't see that happening.
I'm thinking a personality just takes over and they turn themselves in.
Okay.
But to what end?
Well...
I guess that's the question.
You
right?
find out in the trailers. The trailers give away a lot.
You find out in the trailers why he turns himself in?
No, not why he turns himself in, but like why the beast comes about. So just from the trailer alone, it makes me feel like a good personality took over.
Sure.
They turned themselves in. Then that's when Mr. Glass finds out how to summon all the different
personalities. But then why wouldn't they just summon the beast again and then get out? I mean, they could.
They need to sacrifice more. Remember, he said
in order to summon him
they
back?
he said this time we need 12 unpure.
He says that in the trailer?
No. In Split.
Yes.
He says if we want to bring the beast about again, something along those lines, we need 12 more pure.
They do say that.
Mm-hmm. So
does that mean we're...
So it might quadruple or triple every time it happens? Who knows?
So maybe the trailer doesn't... Because in the trailer, at least the way it's cut, they make it look like... the Elijah Samuel L. Jackson's character, Mr. Glass.
Mr. Glass, yeah.
Just kind of has James McAvoy summon the beast on a whim.
Right? Well, no, because there is a part in the trailer where you find out like these flashes are summoning each personality and he's watching it happen.
Right.
So he knows how to do it himself. You just fucking keep on flashing until the beast comes about, which is what's going to happen. I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's anything magical. I don't think it's like pissing them off. I think it's just literally like they show in the trailer.
It's like a random.
It's
roulette.
like a flash.
Eventually it comes back.
Like they say, the light.
Around.
It's the light.
I know they say that in the trailer.
Okay.
Have you seen? By the way, speaking of Glass, which we will be reviewing for the next week's podcast, have you guys seen the early reviews?
No, I haven't.
People are, no pun intended, split on.
Oh,
on the
really?
movie. Reviews are up and down.
I hope I like it.
See,
I will say the trailers are kind of disappointing me, though. Yeah, that is true.
The trailers do have me worry about... Okay, first of all,
they do.
I've mentioned in the past how Bruce Willis these days kind of phones in a lot of his roles.
Sure.
And for the first trailer, at least, it felt like he was doing that with this. Sure. It felt like he wasn't
He's not putting in a full effort.
Giving it his all.
But for something like
particularly, there's the scene where he's supposed to be breaking down a door of the psychiatric ward, and it kind of just... The shot makes it look like he's kind of just like, like he just kind of lazily throws himself at the door.
Maybe so, but maybe seeing it in full motion, like seeing the scene play out, might add more to it.
They may have done some reshoots because I've seen some later trailers where it looks a bit more like he's giving it a bit more effort.
If anything, I think
may have just been a placeholder. I don't know.
I personally, again, this is me being a spoiler snob and all that, not liking being spoiled, but I like the first 1 or 2 trailers of Glass. Now I see James McAvoy's The Horde throwing Bruce Willis's character Dunn through the air, and I don't like that. I wanted to see what that was going to be like, and now I'm like, okay, now it's a face-to-face, hand-to-hand combat fight, and I like the idea of Dunn, Bruce Willis's character, not real. I mean, like, sure, he could probably fight if he absolutely had to, but he's not a fighter. He's just a survivor.
That's my biggest worry about this movie. Is I'm gonna Is
it gonna be cheesy?
Exactly.
I don't want it to be cheesy. That's what the trailers are showing me.
It makes it look like there's gonna be a standoff between the Beast and like the police, and they're probably gonna try to take him down. But then it makes it look like Bruce Willis's character is going to show up, and then he's just going to be like, "No, I need to be the one to face him." And it's like, if bullets aren't taking him down, what the fuck are you going to do? Just hold him to death? Like, that's all we've seen you do so far in this franchise.
I actually believe they both have the same kind of powers.
Similar, very similar. Yeah, just one fights for good.
They both have very tough skin. They're both very strong.
Unbreakable, you could say.
I think the only difference we haven't seen, and this is what I'm excited about with Glass, is we never really got to see his full potential. Bruce Willis.
Mr. Glass even says that in the trailer.
True.
He says, "I finally found someone who will force out your true potential."
So we don't really even know what. From the end of Split, it looks like this man went right back into security, and that was it.
Yeah, he probably does vigilante work on the side.
That's about it. That's the problem.
I can see
if
that
they go that route.
I mean, if Unbreakable is anything to go by, he would have to be doing that because that's the only way he feels fulfilled.
Better.
Yeah, exactly.
And they show he's captured in the trailers of.
Yeah, how did he end up in the psych ward?
But he, like you said, maybe he's just out fighting crime, and they capture him.
Well, again,
sure, they realize this guy's a psycho, like what they always want to do with Batman, for example.
Yeah,
he's a psychotic man, and they don't believe in what he's doing, and this guy actually gets caught.
Well, again, in the trailer, which might as well be a trailer review at this point.
Sure.
But we actually see David Dunn bump into McAvoy's character, and then like he sees a vision, and then it cuts to like the 8-year-old persona, like with some girls tied up. So maybe they actually meet very quickly in the beginning, and then they all get caught somehow, and that's how they all get thrown. I don't. Who knows?
But how could they overtake the Beast? That's what throws me a little.
Well, what I was trying to get at is, going to what John was just talking about anyway, is that we know for sure that he's doing some vigilante work at the very least.
Yes,
and
I imagine
at least we're going to get some of that in the beginning of this movie.
Which is what I'm excited about, is because now we're actually going to see the hero side of his story.
I'm more so...
who he's been all these years.
Yeah. Unbreakable is like watching just Peter Parker's story and not really seeing a Spider-Man story. Right, we don't really get to see his powers. He chokes out one bad guy.
Yeah. He's victorious, but he's lucky.
And that's it. But we haven't seen this guy just punch somebody's face off.
True. No, very good point, yeah. But this is the thing, is that he gets to fight someone who he's not going to just punch someone's face off.
Exactly.
He's going to fight an equal match, if not greater than himself. Because...
So excited.
One thing I love, again, back to Unbreakable, is that Samuel L. Jackson's character, Elijah, says, "I never said you couldn't be killed."
Yeah.
And I love that. And that, I never said you couldn't be killed. I just said whatever. Like, you can handle damage, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I love to see what the hell's going to happen. I almost think, maybe I'm going too far, but I almost feel like Bruce Willis might die in Glass. Like, maybe he'll finally meet his match, and maybe he'll go down swinging until the very end. Maybe just enough time for the Horde to be taken down.
Maybe.
By forces.
He's a pretty cool character, the David Dunn, the Unbreakable guy.
I hope he survives, but I see it going down like that.
I mean, I don't know. This is only his second movie as this character. Third, if you want to count his cameo. So how much emotional attachment do we actually have? Would we really even care if he goes down in this movie?
If the movie's done well, I sure hope so. I just want M. Night Shyamalan to pour every bit of himself into this movie, because I feel like this is what his career is ultimately riding on. Otherwise, he goes back to writing mediocre movies again that people ultimately laugh at. You know what I mean? And again, it's no hate towards M. Night Shyamalan. I'm just saying, Split was like his breakout once again, his resurgence back into greatness, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I just want that to continue. I want Glass to be everything we hope for it to be.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
As do I, but we'll see.
We will see. Any parting words for Glass and what our hopes are for the near future?
In general? You mean in my life, or what are we talking about here? What's the scope on this?
I'm just saying, okay, Glass. Any parting words towards what we want, because we will be reviewing this in a week.
I just want it. I just don't want it to be cheesy.
Just let it be good.
Amen. What's that?
Just let it be good.
Well, of course, we want all movies to be good.
I bet. I mean, I
wish Replicas was good. Just make it good. Make replicas. Remake replicas. # remake replicas good.
Peter, you're not gonna get that life back. I'm sorry.
It's like 2 hours of my life wasted,
back.
and I saw that guy's seat.
Back.
I kind of feel like a dick about it, but then I don't. The only people in the fucking theater were all in the same row, and they all wanted to be smushed. Okay, I'm done.
You were all in it together. You can't hate that. At least you're all in it together. You guys should have held hands.
Then one guy left for like 20 minutes to use the restroom.
Can you blame him? You probably should have done the same.
I almost walked out at a certain point. I'm not even bullshitting you.
You wouldn't have known how bad it was had you not stayed, so I commend you for that.
I stayed out of spite because I was just like, I came out to see this fucking movie. I'm finishing this fucking movie.
I paid this fucking money to see this movie. By God, I'm going to see it.
Yes.
But, yeah. Anyway.
Stole this guy's seat for this movie.
I agree with both of you. The trailers lean towards cheesiness, and I really hope to be pleasantly surprised. By the way, again, as we mentioned multiple times already, we're going to be reviewing Glass for the next official episode of this podcast. However, during the week, next week, we will be releasing a bonus episode where we're going to be reviewing Dragon Ball Super Broly, the movie. The first Broly movie directed and I believe written by Akira Toriyama, the original writer, director, artist of the Dragon Ball universe. Be on the lookout for that. That'll be happening about Thursday next week as well. What's the date on that? Do you guys know the date?
The 16th?
January 16th. That's when the movie comes out.
Well, that's when the movie comes out, but the episode...
So it's going to be January 17th then. That we'll be releasing it, if I'm not mistaking it.
We're going to release it the day after it comes out?
We'll talk about it, guys.
We'll work it out. Either way, it's going to be happening. Maybe Friday or Saturday. Either way, be on the lookout. So yeah, we have Glass review coming up. We have Dragon Ball Super Broly coming out as well as a review. So be on the lookout. Again, if you want to hit us up, Instagram, Twitter, at STGeek. Let us know. Also, if you happen to be affiliated with the company that would like to sponsor us for some episodes, let us know.
Sponsor us.
Hit us up on STGeekPod at gmail.com. Otherwise, that does it for another episode of Shyamalan the Geek Podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Have a good one. Say goodbye, guys.
Peace. Bye.
Later.
Mamma mia, mamma mia.
Oh.
Mamma mia, let me go. Dios, the devil put a son for me, for me, for me. Down, down.
Check.
Check.
Check your booty.